really don't understand pricing. Like, if you don't like it, don't pay for it.
Right.
We found out that people will.
Yeah. I paid more.
Yeah. But what? Like, that's just what you got to do. If you want to. Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
it's not a required purchase.
Right. Like, the whole point of this is that it doesn't make sense for a lot of people.
Yeah. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Friday, November 17th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We're brought to you by Vivid Picks. 11 games to talk about, and we didn't get as much news so far as I expected us to get, which does make this slate kind of interesting. Lots of decent value out there. Pay-ups are an interesting discussion point. Evidently, Bagley's going to play. Is he going to start? That is a real question that we will attempt to answer throughout this show. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, I'm with you. We didn't get a lot of news today, so I assume we'll get some during the show, probably get some during Live Before Lock, but didn't get near as much news as I expected to get.
Yeah, I thought there would just be like a slower trickle, or just even some, we didn't even get any like random stuff. Those things that pop up at 1:30 that you didn't see coming. I don't know if that's just because everybody was already on the injury report because of no front end back-to-backs on the in-season tournament, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm getting roasted here for my background. Josh in jail. Is Josh at a girls' camp cabin? Josh running a kiddie daycare. Josh at summer camp. Yeah, it's not going well for me right there. It's not Jewish summer camp. I'm not Jewish.
Which is wild based on
my face,
the way you look, your name,
my education level, my intelligence. All of those things were pointing me in that direction as well. Yeah. No, I'm. This is the side house.
Anybody looking at the screen right now would guess completely wrong on which one of us was raised Jewish.
Yeah. If we play Who's the Jew, it's gonna be fucking 90-10 me. No, I mean, so there's a side house attached to the house that we're renting, and we have people coming in finally tonight. So I was set up just at the dining room table in our rental, but now I hopped over into what is clearly like the kids' wing, so the parents can, when they rent the house, I guess.
I hadn't actually looked at where you are now, but
there's DVD players mounted to the base of the bunk of both of the bottom bunks. So if you're laying in there, you could put a DVD in. That was probably pretty cool 10 years ago.
Had that for the kids.
Yeah. You know me. You want to talk some basketball?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Chat. All right. Milwaukee Bucks, 9.5 point favorites in Charlotte, 241 total. For Milwaukee, looking like we're going to get Dame and Giannis, or at least that's how I'm treating it. That we're going to get Dame and Giannis, which means this entire Milwaukee Bucks team is incredibly uninteresting. 4% ownership to Giannis on the DK side. It's 12 to Giannis and Dame on the FanDuel side. Actually, I need to grab the updated FanDuel ownership. Ultimately, I don't expect to have very much of the Milwaukee Bucks unless we get some wild news.
Yeah, same here. Same situation we talked about this morning, where as long as Giannis played, it's a really tough team to get to. And it still looks that way because salaries came up as a result of Giannis missing the last game. Dame jumped $800. We were having trouble playing him at $9K anyway. Now he's $9,800. Now on FanDuel is $8,800. So certainly a better play on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He was showing up quite a bit in the lineup generator video earlier. He's getting 13% ownership. Much different play there. Looks correctly priced, solid play. But DraftKings at $9,800, very tough. And clearly we haven't gotten to those games yet, considering we're on the first game that we're going to talk about. But Dame's more expensive than Tyrese Maxey. He's more expensive than Trae Young. He's more expensive than Scotty Barnes. None of those guys are getting a lot of ownership either. De'Aaron Fox, also less expensive than Dame. None of those guys are getting ownership either, but it just reinforces, if you are going to this price range, Dame's really tough to get to at 9,800. Middleton playing limited minutes. Portis is more expensive because of last game. Giannis himself is, I think, the easiest guy to get to. But even that, on DraftKings, he's power forward, so it's nice. But he's 11-1. Embiid's a little bit more. Jokic is 1,400 more. But the problem is just Giannis is obviously very good. 1.45 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with Dame this year. But he's just on a completely different level than Embiid and Jokic. On FanDuel, again, he looks better because the opportunity cost is higher for Jokic or Embiid, and Giannis is relatively less expensive. He's 10-8 instead of 11-1. So he does look better on FanDuel than DraftKings, but on DraftKings, it's real tough to get to anything here.
I got 3% of Giannis. And look, clearly I'm cool with any Giannis I get in this spot, but I don't know how you get to any sort of volume for Milwaukee unless we get news that, I guess in this situation now, Dame would have to be out. Giannis is probable. Dame's not even on the injury report. Well, I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't see anything that's going to happen for Milwaukee that makes anything interesting.
No, me neither.
I am waiting for the day that Chris Middleton just somehow plays 28 minutes.
Yeah, it'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
Because like they're probably not, I mean, maybe they will, but I'm not really expecting like a 20, 20, 20, 22, 22, 24, 24. Like I'm expecting, 20, 20, 20, 20, 28, 32, yeah. And we're back.
Yep. I agree. And that day will be annoying.
It will. Fortunately, he probably won't be rostered by anybody that day.
Yeah, he'll still
actually, what'll be annoying is that it's like day that like Giannis is out. And so people do play Middleton some. And then it's just like, oh, and by the way, he played 30.
Yep. All right. Hornets on the opposite side. Q tag on Gordon Hayward. Q tag on Brandon Miller. And Miles Bridges is back. We're going to have this information by 6:30, at least for Hayward and for Brandon Miller. But this is a very tough team to break down now. If everybody's in, I don't know how you want to get to anything specific for Charlotte. I think LaMelo Ball would lead the charge there at 10-2. He's 4% owned. This is different on FanDuel. LaMelo is 9,500, 20% owned. PJ Washington is 6,200, $1,000 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. He's 20% owned there as well. But on DraftKings, you're not really getting to Charlotte unless we start dropping Hayward or Miller.
Yep, exactly. LaMelo was the only guy I was getting to this morning. I'm rerunning everything now, but he's the only guy the field's getting to on DraftKings. 7% chance of being optimal, 4% ownership. If you want to get to some 10-2 LaMelo in tournaments at low ownership, by all means, obviously very, very good. But Washington's priced up. Hayward, Williams, Miller are all relatively expensive. Bridges is back. We don't know how many minutes he's playing, but it's certainly not a good thing for the Wings. It's not going to give more minutes or production to guys like Miller or Hayward. So pretty tough to like anything here, assuming everybody's in, other than getting to a little bit of LaMelo.
Yeah, I got 7% of LaMelo. That's always going to be fine for me. If this game stays competitive, you generally think LaMelo is going to have a little bit to do with it. But the only thing that we can do that's actionable is wait to get the news. And whenever Hayward is in or out, whenever Brandon Miller is in or out, everybody's just going to look a little bit better. And if you lose both of them, then everybody's going to look a bit better, and we're going to create some value somewhere.
Yeah. And if somehow Miles Bridges ends up in the starting lineup at 5,300, play Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how the conditioning is. We don't know how the minutes are going to look. If he starts, it's a signal that he's probably playing more minutes than you're thinking right now.
Yeah. Yeah. If he's starting, I think 28 is the floor of what you can project. And if you wanted to be a bit more aggressive than that, I think you can. I do think it's interesting that I said this. I think I said it on the process. I don't think I said it to you. I wonder if they start him so they don't have to check him in by himself and get him booed out of the building.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Charlotte. So I was I think Josh Lloyd posted the poll of does he get booed or cheered, which in Charlotte I think is a toss-up. I voted booed, but who knows?
Yeah, he'll get the shit booed out of him everywhere else.
Right. I was going to say, nice of them to bring him back at home.
Yeah.
So at least he has like a chance.
I mean, how many people are really going to be at this game? Well, I guess a lot of people like to see Giannis.
Yeah.
Keep your eye out on the news.
Bridges.
Yeah. I should have went. Knicks, 7-point favorites against Adams Washington Wizards. We do need some information for this one, too. Q tag on RJ Barrett. Q tag on Quentin Grimes. Unfortunately, Charlie Brown is with the G League team, so he's not going to be able to make it for today. That's a real thing. They do have a Charlie Brown on their G League team. Charlie Brown Jr., so his son. Kudos to Charlie Brown. Never knew you grew up like that. 15% ownership coming into Mitchell Robinson. 8 to RJ Barrett if he plays, 9 to Randall, 3 to Brunson. It seems like Mitchell Robinson is the key piece here, but if RJ Barrett ends up out and Quentin Grimes ends up out, then we start getting to Hart and DiVincenzo and Quickly, and then Randall and Brunson look better. So very similar to Charlotte.
Yeah, all we know for sure with the Knicks is that it's a great matchup against Washington. The question just becomes how many guys on this team are priorities and who are they based on, who plays. If RJ Barrett's in right now, the only guy getting double-digit ownership is Robinson at 15% on DraftKings at 5,500, 11% chance of being optimal. He looks good, plenty of rebounding opportunities, plenty of block upside with Mitchell Robinson. I was getting to a lot of Barrett this morning, again, rerunning, waiting for stuff to finish running now, but 6,400 in this spot at 8% owned. We have him with a 16% chance of being optimal. So I'm guessing that our ownership projection right now is factoring in that he's questionable. And if he's ruled in, that ownership probably comes up closer to where the optimal percentage is. Julius Randle at 9%, 8,800. Decent price tag, but it has gone up by around 10% from where he was at. He'll look better if RJ Barrett sits. If Barrett is in, it's still a very, very good spot, but you're just going to run into that same issue of, even though it's not the same position, Julius Randle is similar to Maxey, is similar to Trey, is similar to Barnes, is similar to Fox, and probably not going to take a huge stand on any one of those guys, considering how similar they are to everybody else.
Yeah, that's where and I was looking over my exposures of just like expensive guys today, and we're obviously going to have a conversation about one of them, but you start looking at it and it's like, oh, I just load up on 30 to 40% of everybody else, and then two random pay up options just end up in whatever lineup I have. Because for the most part, they all start to look really, really similar relative to their salary. So it just starts fitting in differently. And that's what I was seeing, where I was just like, oh, okay, like how do I, it's really hard to prioritize one of that entire 9K range. It just doesn't look like that on this slate. Anything else for the Knicks right now other than just saying, same as Charlotte, keep your eye out on the news?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Brunson, we didn't mention Brunson, but like 8,300, clearly he's fine against the Wizards. There's just so many good point guards today.
Okay, that's really good. H in chat is asking if we got paid like per show or salaried, and some guy with the tag of just the alphabet said Josh gets paid in bunk bets. That's good. That's a really good response. Let's go to your Wizards. 8% ownership to denote. Huh?
I said, what the hell are you the head of?
Everything. I don't know. I ain't the head of shit anymore. Everybody that's normally available for the Wizards is available. Highest owned guy is Gallo. Kispert is 2. Nothing's changed here for the Wizards. I'm going to hope that I get nothing, even though I have like 2% of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough matchup. Knicks are a slow team. They're good defensively. The Wizards players suck for the most part. Gallo at 3,700. Again, we just haven't had a lot of value open up throughout the day. There's still a good chance it will by 7 or later. But, Gallo 1.05 DraftKings points per minute, playing around 18 minutes. Right now, that makes him somewhat interesting, especially if you're on my side of thinking Nikola Jokic is very good and somebody you should play, as opposed to your side where he's overrated and you shouldn't play him. Guys like Gallo become useful, but hopefully we'll get better value. Certainly not like planting any sort of flag on Danilo Gallinari playing, and his 18 minutes. Kuzma at 8,200, whatever. Same for Poole and Avdia, but Washington overall pretty unappealing.
Sounds like you're planting a flag on Gallo. Is that just because you're a giant Wizards fan and you can't hide your homerism for the show?
Yeah, it's just that, I can't have my rooting interests and my gambling interests overlap.
That's fair. Anything else here?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, nothing's going to like free up. 6,600 for Jordan Poole. There's basically no scenario where I would have expected that to be his price tag in Washington. I would have expected it to be $2,000 more expensive for most of this season.
Yeah, I don't remember if you and I talked about it. I know me and Greg talked about it. I knew Jordan Poole was going to suck because he sucks and he's on the Wizards. Like, I was fully expecting all of the ridiculous Jordan Poole shit that we're getting. I thought he would be like a 9K fantasy player, though.
Yeah. If I told you 6,600, like beginning of the season, November 17th, he's 6,600 on an 11-game slate, you'd be like, oh shit, he's like 65% owned.
Right. Yeah. I would have thought that like they just misclicked something in the pricing.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's truly nuts. All right, folks, we're through the first 2 games. It's always a good start, which means I got to tell you guys about a promo. Millie is the promo code, MILLY, links in the description. Depending on which sim tool you want to sign up for, whether that's NBA or NFL, go either direction. We're trying to celebrate Short Gamer TV's big Millie win this past Sunday. So we're getting you access to our NBA Sims tool or NFL Sims tool for 20% off. If you've never signed up for the Sims tool before, this is the package you're looking for. If you want to get in the door, come in, use that promo code. You get projections and ownership and boom bust and all of the advanced tools that we have in the background. You also get to use the Sim tool, simulate thousands and thousands of lineups against each other, get projected ROI data for individual players and for the lineups themselves. It's going to create the best lineups that you could possibly make to get into whatever contest you're trying to enter. You also get access to our Discord. Come hang out there as well. Lots of stuff for that month. All you got to do is come hang out with us for 20% off. And again, shout out to Short Gamer TV for becoming a millionaire this past Sunday. Wish it were me.
As an aside, I thought about Jordan Poole. I think it was like somebody on Facebook friends with posted something about one of the clips of Jordan Poole. And so like I'm reading the replies to this guy's post, and there's people in there like, oh, I can't believe they traded for him. But then somebody's like said something along the lines of like, at this rate, he's just looking like he's gonna be another Bradley Beal. And I'm like, holy shit. If he was actually Bradley Beal, like, you know how much of a win that would be? Which so it like blew my mind. One, like mostly just like people just don't understand like anything. No. But like, yeah, Bradley Beal wasn't good enough to win as your best player or second best player, but like Bradley Beal is exceptional compared to Jordan Poole.
Yeah, they're not even comparable. The Wizards would be a lot better if he were Bradley Beal right now.
Right.
Unable to play, out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, if Jordan Poole couldn't walk, the Wizards would be better.
Oh, man. Don't get too loud, Josh, or you'll wake up the Japanese businessman napping next to you. No, I got they're hiding in the dresser like Kramer. Philadelphia 76ers are 1-point favorites in Atlanta, 236 total. Bunch of ownership coming into the Sixers team. This is the first team we're talking about where like things really look good. 14% to Melton, 11 to Embiid, 9 to Covington, 26 to Tobias Harris, and 5 to Maxey. I am over on every single one of those guys except for Harris, where I'm basically dead neutral. I just like all these pieces for Philly. With no Kelly Oubre there now, they're really just concentrating minutes into their starters.
Yeah, so I just went back and double-checked like my exposures for the games we'd already talked about, and pretty much everything I said is I'm getting what I expected. Robinson, highest owned guy for me on the Knicks. Gallo, like 8% for Washington. For Philly, I'm getting a lot of Tobias Harris. 26% projected ownership, 17% chance of being optimal. I'm 2x the field right now, getting 54%.
Okay.
That's a lot. And if it comes down, cool. But I don't mind it. You know, he's 6,600. He's in a good spot. He's small forward 6,300. Good spot. Small forward and power forward eligible. It's just it's useful positions. It's a reasonable price tag. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. He's playing huge minutes. I don't mind that I'm getting there, and I'm getting a lot of Melton as well. Getting 38% of him. Fields at 14%. We have him 16% to be optimal. He's been around 0.85 DraftKings points per minute this season, and just useful positional eligibility, useful price tag. So he's showing up a lot for me. I'm a little over the field now on Covington. I wasn't getting him this morning. I have 14% now. You know, we talked about it this morning. The range in playing time is obviously massive. 16 minutes in his start 2 games ago, 37 last game. Assuming he's playing something like 28 to 30, somewhere in there. My argument against Covington this morning was that like 4 of their bench pieces combined for 24 minutes last game, which I view as unsustainable. You reminded me Nick Nurse is their coach, which was a very fair counterpoint. So really, no idea on how many minutes Covington plays. I think somewhere in the upper 20s as a projection makes a lot of sense. 9% owned, 4,500. I'm just getting a little bit over that. I only have 8% Embiid right now. Fields at 10%. I have 2% Maxey, Fields at 5%. But Harris and Melton look like guys I'm really building around right now.
Yeah, I got 18 of Melton, 14 of Embiid, 16 of Covington, 22 for Harris, 12 of Maxey. Let's say Robert Covington plays 33 minutes tonight, like a standard starter, just like 8, 9, whatever you want to say, like however you want to see those rotations happen. What would you want to project him for in their next game? Do you immediately then you're going 32?
You said he played how many tonight?
Let's say he plays 32 tonight, like standard 8 starter run.
I'd probably go like 30 for next game.
Okay. Yeah, it's
like I don't think you can just throw away the 16 minutes.
I don't know.
But I also like The other part of that, I think, in determining how much I would expect him to play next game if he played 32 today, is what does it look like what did today look like for House, for Korkmaz, for Beverly? If we get 2 games in a row where those guys just are barely even in the rotation, then I start to say, okay, this is what they're doing. If it's those guys played a lot more, but Tobias Harris only played 30 or something, then I'm weighting Covington's minutes a lot less.
There is nothing safer tonight than Robert Covington picking up foul trouble and us having to kick this fucking can down the road.
Yep.
It's going to be awful.
So it's going to be foul trouble tonight. So every site projects him for like 25 minutes next game, and then he plays like 38 again.
It's coming. I got 16%. I'm happy to get there. I went 28 minutes. I wanted to go 30, but that is just not I don't want Robert Covington to be the stand that I take today. It's going to just piss me off. So
yeah, I was pretty happy. I'm around 27 minutes. I was pretty happy just getting right around the field.
Yeah. Like I'm not mad at all about 16. That is like right at the upper bound of the threshold where I'm like, okay, that's tolerable. And he can play his way into 6 more minutes plus today and like feel good about it. He's also live to play 36 minutes and provide 6 fantasy points. So that would be a real great time. Anything else for Philly?
No.
The Atlanta Hawks are dogs at home, and we've got 16% ownership coming into Onyeka Okongwu, 10 to Sadiq Bey. Obviously, 2 bench pieces being the highest owned guys for Atlanta. I feel like that's new-ish for this year. I feel like we've got a lot more bench pieces that are like showing up regularly. Is that maybe like rotations are changing?
No, it's the DraftKings pricing. It's that.
Yeah, I guess.
It's that when guys are like starting and playing, big minutes, they're just immediately going from 4,500 to 5,600. And guys like Sadiq Bey and Okongwu off the bench are getting left. So you just don't have a lot of alternatives between 4 and 5K.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought about it like that. Trae Young's 6% owned. I'm doubling up there. I've got a little bit more of Bey. I'm getting to Okongwu, but I also have minimal shares of Capella, Hunter, Murray, Jalen Johnson. This is just a really good game to target. Ultra competitive, 1-point line, 236 total. Like the expectation is that all of the guys that play big minutes in this game are going to play big minutes here, and then you start having good fantasy plays.
Yeah, I'm getting to the backups. I'm not getting to the actual players. So 16% Okongwu, 16% Bey for me, just needing guys at that price point right now. We know that Okongwu's going to play 20, 21 minutes a lot of the time, but he is also capable of closing over Capella, in which case that 4,700 becomes really favorable. Bey is playing upper 20s in minutes, most likely off the bench, 0.8 to 0.85 DraftKings points per minute at 4,400. So getting to both of those guys. And then other than that, I have like 6% Jalen Johnson. I have like 2% DeAndre Hunter. So it's really for me, Okongwu and Bey. Clearly, if you want to get to some 6% Trae Young or some 1% owned DeJounte Murray, or 5% on Capella, any of those guys are fine. The price tags aren't crazy given their range of outcomes, but Okongwu and Bey look like the guys that I'm getting to the most.
Yeah. The Bey Jalen Johnson relationship of minutes, like I assumed one of those guys was just going to die for the other one. And it's just like, nah, they both just play like 27, 28 minutes, upwards of 30.
Yep.
But I guess that's what happens when you get like a real coach in the room. And Quinn Snyder's like, yeah, we'll just play our best players the most minutes.
Yeah, we don't have like AJ Griffin out here taking 18 minutes away from somebody.
Yeah, it's like, no, these guys we'll concentrate our rotation. Smart. I like Atlanta. I'm really curious to see if they can get off of Capella at the deadline. But I just don't know what their upgrade point is for the team.
I sure as hell don't.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do. Oh God, here we go. The Detroit Pistons are 9-point underdogs in Cleveland with a 220 total. There's no ownership coming into Detroit right now, but we do have a talking point for Detroit. Now, it has been announced that Marvin Bagley is available for this game. However, there was a note earlier today that Kevin Knox was essentially like warming up in shoot around with the starters uniform on. Bagley, not so much. Now, maybe that's just because they didn't want Bagley to go through shoot around like that because he's not ultra healthy. I don't know. He's sick, whatever. Maybe they don't want him near those dudes so everybody doesn't get sick. I don't know. But there is a small possibility that Marvin Bagley is not starting in this game. And I think that carries like a big trickle-down effect to Detroit.
Yeah, agreed. It's big news because if Kevin Knox does start, he's 4K, small forward, power forward on DraftKings on a slate where we don't have a lot of good value right now. He's a relatively productive point per minute guy. You can say what you want about him as an NBA player, but he produces at a decent rate. And then also, if he's starting instead of Bagley, you're getting more production, more rebounding opportunities for Stewart, potentially for Thompson as well. So it does have a trickle down effect there. And I don't know what to make of today because Bagley was dealing with an illness. Was it just, yeah, he's going to kind of half-ass it through shoot around with the reserves and we'll see how he feels? Or is it we're making a lineup change? I don't know.
Like somebody had to be the fifth guy if Bagley wasn't feeling up to snuff.
Right. And so if Bagley is starting, I don't really have much interest in this team. With him right now projected to start, I have 2% Bagley, I have 4% Cade, and that's it on DraftKings. If he's not starting, then Stewart's going to look better. Knox is going to look better. Thompson, to some extent, he's already rebounding at a really high level, but to some extent could look better. So it does have an impact here. But you also have to keep in mind it's a shit matchup with Cleveland. This team was going to be, at least we know that Bagley's expected to play. Like if Bagley was out, that was opening up Wiseman, it was opening up Knox, it was opening up all this stuff. With Bagley at least playing, even if he's coming off the bench, this team is mildly more interesting, but still not that interesting.
I don't know what they're going to do here. I do think I got a sneaky suspicion the minutes for James Wiseman may be numbered moving forward if they've unearthed Kevin Knox again. Yeah. Now, I assume Kevin Knox goes straight back to being Kevin Knox, which is a pretty likely scenario considering we've watched him be dog shit for years, including for this exact team. So I think that will I think that'll correct itself in the long run, but still got to ring the. Kevin Knox is going to move into the starting lineup today, and he's going to become 30% owned, and you're going to get a Kevin Knox game.
Yeah, 16 fantasy points in 30 minutes. Yeah. Hayward and Brandon Miller both playing.
There we go. So you guys can mostly ignore the Charlotte Hornets, but if you like LaMelo Ball, we'll go for it. You want to go to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Well, remember everything that we just said about Charlotte? It's kind of the same here, but we just don't have the news yet. Q tag on Darius Garland, Q tag on Donovan Mitchell. Unless you've never played NBA DFS before, you have to know that those two items will really impact everything else that's happening. If either one of those guys is out, the other one looks significantly better. I think if Mitchell is out, the impact for Garland is much bigger than the opposite way, since Mitchell's already 9,500. But everybody starts to look a little bit better. Luckily for us, Caris LeVert's already 6,900, so we don't dive into that crazy value. But we need to find out the status of Garland and Mitchell because one of those two guys is about to look good if they're out.
Yeah, so if they're both in, which is how it's projected right now, Cleveland is not that interesting. It's a good matchup with Detroit, but prices are where they should be. Some of them are even elevated because of Garland being out previously, like Mitchell, like Mobley. So if they're both in and the slate started right now, I have 4% Garland, I have 6% Allen, and we can move on from Cleveland essentially. Mobley, Mitchell, Garland, Allen, they're all perfectly fine contrarian plays in a tournament lineup, but it's nothing that I would be prioritizing. But if Garland is out, Mitchell looks a lot better at 9,500. You can certainly throw him, he's already in that mix with Trae Young and Fox and all those guys, but he would look even better than he already does. LeVert would look better. Strus would look better. If Mitchell is out, Mobley, Garland, Strus, LeVert all look better. And then if they're both out, 6,900 LeVert still looks fantastic, shooting guard, small forward. 5,900 Strus would look good. You're starting to get into a 3K Craig Porter Jr. in that scenario. This is a massive team in terms of news.
So we had Garland and Mitchell out on the 28th of October. Jared Allen also missed that game, but I don't think that really matters in terms of trying to figure out who steps into stuff. That impact is a little different. That was a game where Dean Wade played 37 minutes. Here we go. Strus played 42. Caris LeVert played 44. Mobley got 33. Isaac Okoro played 35, so he's not here. Niang didn't get that run. They just sort of jammed their 6 real dudes. It was games after that where you got the 22 minutes out of Craig Porter, the 23 minutes out of Amani Bates. So we got to pay close attention if they're both out because things could get pretty wild. But I would think Porter would probably be the first guy that would be the flat min type dude that you want to get to. Everybody else just gets incrementally better. And you're probably projecting Strus for like 38 minutes at that point.
Yeah. Oh, and also, I didn't mention it because it's really easy to forget him, but Dean Wade got the start in place of Darius Garland last game and played 33 minutes. It's Dean Wade. The dude is terrible from a fantasy standpoint, but he's 3,400. If he's in this starting lineup, especially with the way value looks right now, it's certainly playable. Like I'm getting some Danilo Gallinari. There's like Dean Wade is the complete opposite play of Gallinari, but like the same end result. If he's starting, he's playing like he doesn't have to, but if he's starting, he has the potential to play like 34 minutes, get you like half a fantasy point per minute, end at 17 fantasy points. Whereas Gallo is playing 18 minutes, getting a fantasy point per minute and finishing at like 18 fantasy points.
Anything else here?
I did pull up the rates. So in the games that Mitchell has played without Garland since last year, 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. In the games he's played with Garland, 1.23. So pretty nice jump there. And then in the games Garland has played without Mitchell, 1.34 DraftKings points per minute. So just to reiterate, how good these guys are if the other one is out, and particularly Garland at 7,200, because Mitchell's price is already somewhat adjusted for Garland being out. If Mitchell is out now, Garland's price hasn't really adjusted for that.
Yeah. If I wanted this to break in my favorite way, it's Mitchell out, Garland in, and I think Garland is then like exceptional.
Yep.
The Sacramento Kings are 8.5-point favorites in San Antonio, 238 total. This is another fascinating one. Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter are the two guys getting the most ownership for Sacramento. So something that we kind of talked about earlier. 15% to Monk, 13 to Huerter, 7 to Keegan Murray. Fox is in at 9K. He's part of the grab bag of 9K-ish players where you can pick any one of them, and we will all agree that that's a decent option. But this is a fantastic spot against San Antonio. Bad defense. The pace of this game is going to be staggering. I don't want to have the 18% Malik Monk that I have right now, but I think he is like sort of the easiest guy to get to for Sacramento.
Yeah, I actually have more Huerter than Monk, but I don't really disagree with you. Shooting guard eligibility for Huerter at 5,900. He's getting 13% ownership. I have 14%. Monk's getting 15% ownership. I only have 6. I personally prefer the $5,400 price tag and MPE on Monk over Kevin Huerter, but the stuff that I ran didn't, and I'm gonna trust that. But like either of those guys, I have no problem getting to them. I do like, I complimented DraftKings on it this morning. As aggressive as they've been with increasing salaries, it's really important to like move Malik Monk back once De'Aaron Fox is playing again, just so you have some playable options on teams. So 5,400 for him as that sixth guy that is just going to go out there and look to score. Certainly in this spot looks pretty appealing. It's a good spot for all these guys. And again, I don't mind Huerter at 5,900. I'm getting to a little bit of Fox. He's getting 9% ownership. I have 6%. I have like 2% Sabonis, 2% Keegan. This is another team where I like the idea of getting to them in general, just, like having a Sacramento player in a lineup because of the spot, but it's really difficult to point out which one you want because the prices are just where they should be and the team's healthy.
Yeah. You said you have the Huerter side of this one, right?
Yeah.
I have his under on Prize Picks, so.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of those, like I said, I'm getting 14% Huerter, I'm getting 6% Monk. That could easily be flipped the entire other way by the time we get the lock. Like it's not a strong lean or anything. We're getting the Charlotte starting lineup that they've been running out.
I figured that would be what they would do. It would be really funny if they just immediately booted like Brandon Miller,
right.
Gordon Hayward to the bench for Bridges, just all in on Bridges. The discourse around this is going to be so bad for a little bit.
Around Bridges?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be.
Yeah, I don't know what Charlotte's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing for me in these situations. Like, obviously, like if he did all of these things, like bury him under the jail, I don't care. Like I don't want to advocate for him, but at some point in time, like people have to work. Like if you're okay with him working at Subway and not the NBA, I don't know what the difference is.
Right. Yeah. Like it's all dollars. It's how does Charlotte value their right? How much money does Charlotte think they're going to lose from an image standpoint versus what they're paying Miles Bridges to play basketball for?
Yeah. You got to be good enough to be able to be a shitty person. Ray Rice wasn't at the end of his career. He had to go away.
He's a running back. I mean,
yeah. Like, I mean, that's really what it was. Like, you get to find out how valuable you are to your league if you're able to come back from stuff like this.
No organization, NBA, NFL, non-sports related, whatever, is taking some moral stand for the sake of taking a moral stand. It's like if they think that it's neutral, like, playing him or cutting him has this, a similar outcome, then sure, the tiebreaker might be like, yeah, we get some extra, we get goodwill out of this, or we want to cut him, like whatever. But no organization is like going to cost themselves a bunch of money just to make people feel good.
No. It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, like I would not want to be the decision maker for this, especially for someone like Brady. I mean, like, he was legitimately good 2 years ago. It's just like, oh shit, okay, and now what? And it hasn't gotten better. It's just like, oh no, he violated that restraining order.
Right. Yeah, and
he threw pool balls at the car.
Right, and somebody in chat
might just be awful.
Yeah, and somebody in chat said, they're banking on men not caring. Like, yeah, obviously their demographic skews towards the people that are less likely to care, and people also just have short attention spans.
Yeah, there's so many people are going to do this. That's the real problem. Somebody else is going to be a domestic abuser tomorrow and like take him right out of the.
Yeah, spotlight. Like, I mean, I don't know the details, but we got Zay Jones this week. Like,
no, I don't even see it. It's like,
I mean, it wasn't this. It was like, I think he got arrested. I didn't see the details. I think he got arrested for like misdemeanor or something. But like, yeah, he popped up this week. You'll probably get another athlete next week.
Craziness. Well, San Antonio's a thing today. 36% ownership coming into Malachi Branham. Trey Jones is out. Keldon Johnson is in. Devin Vassell is out. 11% ownership to Sohan, 10 to McDermott, 8 to Keldon Johnson, 7 to Zach Collins. But Malachi Branham seems to be the consensus best option. 3,900, shooting guard eligible. You're going with the assumption that Branham is the starter, correct?
Yes, I think so.
If he doesn't start, what do you like?
So I mean,
the minutes
I have
projection like even really moving?
Right. So I have been like 25 minutes right now. So
yeah, I have 26.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going into this like, I think there's a good chance he starts, but I'm not. It's not like I've been like 34 minutes or something.
No. So like, I don't know what that impact will be when it comes out, other than I think it will, if it's not him, I think it's just going to create a different person. Like if it's Champagny again, he's going from 0 to way more than 0.
Right. Yeah. So that's how I view it too. Like, you can look at the last game where Champagny started. He played 31 minutes. Now, if he's starting again today, you don't just project him for 31 minutes. That can obviously be a lot less. But if he's starting, then he becomes a play. But in that game, Branham played 26 minutes off the bench. Again, some of that was garbage time. Don't know if he would have been in a closing lineup or not. He did close the first half. He played about 11 to 12 minutes in the first half. Like, I think expecting 24, 25 minutes from him off the bench is very reasonable. But, if Chetty were to start, Chetty looks better, whereas right now Chetty looks close to useless. Same goes for Champagny. Same goes for Devontae Graham, who I'm no longer getting, thank God. If any of those guys were to start, then you're just saying like, oh, they're getting the minutes right out of the gate. They're cheap. We can take shots on them. If Branham's getting the start, then it's just, okay, well, do I want to play roulette with whatever the hell this bench rotation for the Spurs looks like? And the answer is probably not really.
Yeah, Graham, to me, not a thing. I'm glad that we don't have to argue about that one yet.
We weren't even arguing.
I am just sure. Well, yeah, we are to chat. They don't know.
Sure.
Once again, I'm going to say it like I said it earlier. I'm really surprised to just see flat 0 to Champagny coming off of a 31-minute start. We overreact. Like, Pajemski was like the bees. Like, I get it's a 2-gamer, but it was like, oh yeah, he played 37 minutes in a game where 2 guys got ejected. Must be going straight back to him. No one thinks go to San Antonio, go to Julian Champagny. Right. Now I'm down to 20 minutes. I still think like he's very viable to be interesting. No idea who the starter is going to be. It's the Spurs. They don't care. They're starting Jeremy Sohan at the point.
Yeah, I mean, so like right now, the Spurs I have right now are Branham, Collins, Sohan, Keldon, McDermott, and Wemby.
Yeah.
And if it holds like that, great. if somebody starts that wasn't named just now, I'm obviously playing those guys, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
I think the only guys, like, if they're not starting, probably the only bench pieces I would play are Branham or McDermott.
Agreed. I mean, like, I got to share Charles Bassey, but that's
sure,
what I'm talking about.
I wasn't even including him.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe, I would say maybe Chetty, but probably not.
I just don't trust. Like, there's no way to know. It's San Antonio. I don't trust these guys at all.
Which is the counter argument too in tournaments. Like, I have no idea. Which was the whole point I was making this morning with Devontae Graham at 3,400. Like, what if he's just Trey Jones today with no Vassell and no Trey Jones? Like, it's not hard to envision like a San Antonio bench rotation where $3,400 Devontae Graham at no ownership is a really good play, or Chetty at 3,700 no ownership is a really good play. Like, these guys can handle the ball if they can fill that role. But realistically, when you're playing a finite number of lineups, I'm probably just not messing with the San Antonio bench for the most part, outside of Branham, because I'm confident in his actual role.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah, I got 12% of Collins, 12 of Keldon, 10 of Sohan, 10 of McDermott. Like, there's a lot of little pieces here.
Yeah, so I'm at 52% on Branham right now.
Okay. Yeah, 45. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those pieces where am I confident in it? No. Would I kind of like to not be around, be under the field on 35% Branham? Like, yeah, but I don't really know where else to go at this point. And I'm getting a lot of Jokic just like I was this morning. So that's another thing where, like, I need these pieces. I need somebody to do well here. I'm over the field on Collins, getting 22%. He's only 7% owned, $6,500 center option in a good spot. I'm happy to be there. I'm getting the 12% Sohan. He should look better without Vassell and without Trey Jones. 5,800 getting 11% ownership, so in line with the field. I have 10% Keldon, so right around the field there. 8% McDermott, who's getting 10% ownership, and then I have like 2% Wemby, and so does the field. So Collins is like Branham, I guess I'm kind of taking a stand, just I'm playing him a lot. Collins is the guy that I'm like right now actually getting over the field on as a contrarian play from this team.
Weird stuff. They're going to end up starting someone that we didn't even mention.
Kind of like they did last time.
Yeah, I guess. We didn't see Champagne coming, and then he went out there and played the most minutes of anyone on the team.
Yep.
Zach Collins played 31. Julian Champagne played 30.7. We're going to call it 31 apiece.
Yep. And just to reiterate, I mentioned it with Branham. Branham and Champagne both got extra minutes because they played through garbage time last game. They were already on the floor. It's not like they subbed back in and took minutes like Devontae Graham, but they did. You can't look at those minutes as like gospel from last game and say, oh, well, this is what they're looking to do, even if Champagne starts.
Wemby, Collins, Sohan, Keldon Johnson. I assume if this game is close, those four guys are closing this basketball game.
Agreed.
That fifth dude, pick your poison.
Right.
Anybody.
My guess is Branham, but it probably also just depends on how the game's going and how they're playing.
Yeah, that could very easily be McDermott or Chetty. It's just like connectors.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wouldn't project anybody to be that dude. Right. Everybody gets an extra minute that can close. I'm confident it's not Charles Bassey.
Yeah. The quasi closing lineup in the fourth quarter, before they just waved the white flags, was McDermott, Collins, Sohan, Champagne, Wemby. But that probably is just Vassell hadn't come back in yet.
Yeah.
Like Vassell was obviously, going to close. Their closing lineup in the first half was Branham, Collins, Sohan, Wemby, Vassell. So that's essentially what that's my best guess at what the closing lineup would be here, except Keldon instead of Vassell.
Yeah. All right. Shout out Vivid Picks, sponsor of this show. I've been telling you guys this all week. I'm not changing up my tune at all right now. You guys need to take advantage of free money. They will match any deposit up to $300. Put in 100, get 100. Put in 200, get 200. Put in 300, get 300. If you're playing at Prize Picks or Underdog or any one of the pick'em sites, grab as many as you can. This is no different than sports books. You're trying to find the best lines and the best places to play, but you should always take advantage of these deposit bonuses when you can get them, because nothing will pay you out better than a deposit bonus to start. Take advantage here. Get up to $300 if you can. We've got plenty of picks going on the Odd Shopper channel. across all of our content. Not to mention, you also get a $25 secure play. So you put $25 down on whatever card you build on Vivid Picks your first time. If it wins, great. Keep the money, move on. Everything's awesome. If it loses, you get that $25 back in site credit. So up to $300 on your first deposit and a freebie shot for your first card for $25. This is an incredible way to start a bankroll. If you love the site, great. Stick around. If you don't, you just created yourself a little bit of extra wealth, more money in your pocket, more money for a different site that you might like. But in this case, I think you just stick around to Vivid Picks, because if you've already got the money there and you're winning, why not stay? Sign up for Vivid Picks. Link in the description. Got to click it to get it.
Quentin Grimes out for the Knicks. Yeah. Josh Hart, I assume, starting.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Honey Badger Daily was wondering if you were at Camp Crystal Lake.
I wish. I'm not going to die if I'm at Camp Crystal Lake, baby. Virgins stay alive. Boston Celtics. 9-point favorites in Toronto. 226 total. Highest owned dude for Boston right now is 4% owned Jaylen Brown. On the Boston side, from an injury perspective, Brown is questionable. Horford is probable. Porzingis is questionable. I believe both guys went through shoot-around this morning and are expected to play. But if that's the case, if everybody's in for Boston, you're probably avoiding Boston.
Yep, I have nothing from Boston right now. If I were to get there, Jaylen Brown's probably where I go first. Shooting guard, small forward, 7,800. I've talked about it a million times this year. I like the idea of getting to him at low ownership, just given the upside he has on a game-to-game basis and the positional eligibility. But on this particular slate, I'm just not getting to Boston, assuming those guys are in.
Yeah. And if they're not, you kind of know where you're going here. It doesn't really create anything new. It just makes the other really good guys really good. I'm so excited for the NBA playoffs. I can't wait.
So yeah, me too, because it'll be baseball season.
I'm not excited for that. Although I had a fantastic baseball season. I should want that to come back immediately. Toronto side. OG Anunoby, doubtful. Gary Trent, probable. Your boy, Otto Porter, out. Personal reasons. I didn't see it. I forgot they still have Thad Young. That's a thing.
I had
5%. Yeah, 5% ownership to who was it? Gary Trent is the high man. It was hard to say just because I think it's pretty obvious that we do not want to be playing much of the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, I mean, the only guy I have in a single lineup right now from the Raptors is Malachi Flynn. So
there you go.
Yeah, he's in like 2 out of 50.
This is the guy recommended Nikola Jokic tonight, playing Malachi Flynn. This guy.
Yeah, that'll probably go away, but point stands, this game's really tough to get to. Tough matchup for Toronto. Prices are not very favorable. Scotty Barnes, point guard, small forward, plenty of upside, 3% chance of being optimal. Pirtle's at 4% to be optimal. That's the highest on the team. Assuming that nobody gets ruled out from this game between now and lock, I basically have nothing.
Yeah, I have 8% of Trent, 1 share of Precious, not that Precious Achua, 1 of Jakob Pirtle, and that is it. Orlando Magic. God, this game is disgusting, and yet I have some of it. 3-point dogs in Chicago, 215 total. This is the low total on the day, 20 points less than multiple games. 13% ownership coming into Franz, 11 to Paolo. The good news is the ownership to Orlando is coming into the real players and not like, Jonathan Isaac's 11% owned today. So I'm matching the field on Paolo. I'm matching the field on Franz. I have a little bit of Anthony Black at 3,600, shooting guard, small forward. Minutes are there. He's been dreadful as a fantasy performer. I don't want anything else from Orlando, but at least I have the 2 main dudes.
Yeah, I'm under the field on them, but they're the only 2 guys I'm getting from Orlando. I have 6% Banchero, 4% Franz Wagner right now. Field's a bit higher. I think this kind of just comes down to roster construction. If I were to start getting more balanced lineups, then clearly those guys are going to show up more. But since I'm prioritizing the best player in the NBA, I'm missing out on some of these mid-range guys so that I can play Danilo Gallinari and Malachi Flynn. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of what it is. The Jalen Suggs piece does matter. Like if he's out, you're getting more minutes for Black, most likely. You're getting more minutes for Anthony, most likely. Ingles starts to become kind of interesting at 3,400, I guess. So like that news does certainly matter. He's a relatively high usage guy, but also the minutes just have to go somewhere.
By the way, we got a member message a little bit earlier. I don't know how to say your name. It's A/O WXNDER. So I have no idea how to say that, but I wanted to acknowledge it. He said, thanks for keeping my DFS passion alive over the years. We're happy to. We enjoy this. I have no idea how to address you, though. That name is it's like the name of one of Elon Musk's kids or something. There's symbols and shit in it. Doesn't make any sense to me. Let's go to Chicago. For the Bulls, I lost them in the injury report. I think I did the same thing. These are in like a very different order than when everything happens. Where are you hiding, game? 7:30, 8 o'clock, so at the bottom. DeMar DeRozan, still questionable for personal reasons. Have you seen anything on him?
No. All I saw was that it was a quote. It was like an ominous sounding quote. Like they were going to let him take all the time he needs for his whatever he's dealing with.
I thought his dad died. So this must be something different.
I know he's had like bad anxiety issues in the past. And then I remembered something with his dad, but I didn't remember what.
His dad was sick last year, and that's why I think that was last year, and that's why he was like away from the team.
Right. Yeah, I remember him like flying back and forth.
Yeah. But in my mind, I remembered him passing, but it's not that it makes a difference.
Right. Yeah, I'll say I didn't remember what the outcome of that was.
Yeah. So if he's in, uninterested in Chicago, luckily. If he's out, then we have to start looking at Kobe White, Vooch, Patrick Williams, Torrey Craig, Zach LaVine. Like everybody just gets incrementally to significantly better.
Yeah. As is right now, I have like 6% Kobe White. I have 2% Vooch. And that's it from this team. The field is doing the same stuff. White's 2% owned. Vooch leads the way at 3%. So it's really just right now, very, very little exposure to the Bulls. If DeRozan's out, though, Kobe White certainly looks better just from a playing time standpoint. Vooch and LaVine's production goes up. Now, their salaries did already move on DraftKings because of DeRozan missing the previous games. Vooch is up to 8,400. LaVine is up to 7,900. But more importantly, LaVine lost small forward eligibility as well, so he's just more difficult to get to. Where I think Chicago where I would actually start getting a lot of Chicago, though, is if DeRozan's out, you have a $4,500 point guard small forward, Alex Caruso. You have a $3,900 Torrey Craig. Patrick Williams jumped to 4,600, but that's still an okay price point. Dosunmu is 3,700 shooting guard small forward. The cheap guys that start to soak up some of those DeRozan minutes are where I probably start looking so that I can get away from the Malachi Flynn type players.
Yeah. It starts getting a lot easier to get to Patrick Williams or Torrey Craig or something.
And like if DeRozan's out, right. Like if DeRozan's out, I don't need 52% Branham. I can cut that back a bit and get some Caruso, some Williams, some Craig, and mix it up amongst the cheap, shitty players.
Anything else for Chicago?
No.
Here we go. Denver Nuggets, 5.5 point favorites in New Orleans, 226 total in this one. No Jamal Murray, as has been the case for a bit. 18% ownership coming into Michael Porter Jr., 22 to Aaron Gordon, 11 to Reggie Jackson, 20 to Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is 12,500, most expensive play on the slate. I have 9%, feels good. How do you have Nikola Jokic today?
Right now, he's my second highest owned player on the slate. I have 62% Jokic on DraftKings. He's 12.5, which is very expensive, but the way he's played in the 4 games without Murray this year, we are getting to Russ without Kevin Durant territory.
Yep.
He's averaged 2.03 DraftKings points per minute. I don't care about the point per minute production as much as I care about the usage.
Yeah.
Last year, when Jokic played without Murray, his per minute production did not really change. He was, I think, like 1.75 DraftKings points per minute in games with Murray. He was like 1.77 or something like that in games without him. That numbers are in the article I wrote earlier. I just don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was something like that where you didn't really get much of a change. His usage barely increased. His assist percentage stayed about the same. The biggest change was that his floor came up because you didn't have the risk of the Jamal Murray takeover game where Jokic can kind of just rest on the offensive end and come back next game. So you lost that. It raised his floor, but the production didn't really change. This year, in the 4 games he's played without Murray, he has a 38% usage rate compared to about 28% last year. And I'm not saying that I think he's going to just maintain a 38% usage rate without Jamal Murray, but even if you cut that back to like 33, 34%, somewhere in there, with how efficient Nikola Jokic is, that is huge for his fantasy production. And the other part of it is that his usage isn't going up at the expense of his assist percentage. That's what you see a lot of the time. It'll be like, oh, this guy is, the first thought is, wow, this guy's usage is insane. He's a great fantasy play. And then you realize that he's cut his assist percentage in half, and it's kind of coming out in the wash. The assist percentage is holding while he is just taking way more of the possessions. That's massive. And so it does back up a really big jump in production for him. I'm getting a ton.
32% usage on the season, 26.5 last year. It's hard for me to like even mentally figure out why that, like, is that just Murray being out for a couple games now?
I think in large part. So with Murray, in the games he's played with Murray this year, he's at 30.4%, which is still up from last year. Last year,
yeah,
was
that's like that's wild to think about, because this is basically the exact same team. And I figured like autopilot Jokic this year would have been a thing.
Yeah, like last year was 27 and change with Murray.
Yeah,
it's 30 and change this year. Then you've obviously gotten the really big jump without him. I think part of it without Murray is, and again, it's pretty much the same team, but Reggie Jackson has spoke multiple times about wanting to just play off ball and let Jokic run the offense, and just basically just like in admiration of Jokic, saying like, almost like a fan on the court, like, I enjoy being out there and letting him do it. And not that Bones Highland was playing all of the non-Jamal Murray minutes last year, but Bones Highland had a different approach to things than Reggie Jackson has taken. And when you talk about the other guys, Gordon can have the ball in his hands if he needs to, but he doesn't need to on this team. Michael Porter Jr. is not doing that. KCP's not doing that. So if the only other guy that would be running the show and deciding where the ball goes is saying like, no, I would rather let Jokic do it, it's just a lot easier for Jokic to call his own number if he just has the ball literally every possession. And I think that probably has something to do with it. Then there's also just the, what's Jokic want to do, and so far this year he's wanted to shoot more. So, I mean, it's only 4 games, but that's the other thing too, why I buy into it. It's not like it's 4 games and the point guard in those 4 games has elected to give Jokic more shots based on what the defense is doing or whatever. Jokic is the one making that decision. As long as Jokic decides Jokic wants to shoot, Jokic is shooting. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. We're going to look back in time and like really a lot of people are just not going to appreciate what you're getting out of this dude for the past 4 years plus. I mean, honestly, from basically this time that he started playing, he's been an exceptional basketball player. But this 4-year run that he is on is just on a completely different level. It's so nuts. I had no idea that his usage, I didn't really know that he was at 26.5 last year. That's even crazier to me.
Yeah.
I just assumed that because he was 31 the year before that, 29.5. I assumed he had established that, like, just in my brain. And that was just not the case. So I am projecting him a little bit lower than you. We had this conversation before we got started. I still have him for 31 points, 12.5 boards, 9.5 assists, and 2 stocks. Like, he's still the clear top projected dude on the slate by a mile. He's the best dude in the league. I don't think it's close. I'm a little bit under the field at 20%. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that like the value that does exist is ugly.
Yeah. And I think that to me, that is the counter argument to Jokic is I've mentioned some of the guys I'm getting to. Now there is enough of it. And this is my I guess counter argument. There's not a cheap value piece on this slate that I think is great. And that I think you have to have, but there is enough. So like, we haven't gotten there yet. I have a ton of Terance Mann now.
Yeah. So do I.
And, that kind of, it's Terance Mann. That's not the best when he's playing with the guys he's playing with, but he's really cheap. I can fit, positionally, I can fit him into a lot of lineups. We'll talk about it more when we get there, but he's my highest owned guy right now. I'm getting a lot of him. That's the only guy I have more than Jokic. I'm getting a lot of Branham, like I mentioned. But other than that, I'm kind of spreading it around to enough not very good players that it's still an 11-game slate. There are still a lot of these guys. It's very, very likely that the ultimate answer is you needed these 2 crappy plays that you would have no confidence in, but there's just so many of them that a couple of them are going to do well. And if Jokic hits his, whatever you want to call it, we have it at 70, upper 60s, low 70s fantasy point projection, you probably need him.
Yep. Yeah. Look, I got like 14% of Embiid, so I'm a little over there. I'm a little bit over on like LaMelo. AD. So I'm taking a bit more of like just a scattered approach to the top pay up options. If I opened up my sheet and had 40% of Nikola Jokic, I'd be stoked. I wouldn't care at all. It would be awesome. He's not the guy that I'm ever going to be mad about the exposure for. 12.5 is a real price. He deserves every bit of that 12.5 price tag for sure. And I have him projected well north of every other person on this slate. I think I'm just getting blocked out at the top end of getting to him as efficiently as everybody else will.
Yeah. I'm actually more interested because I haven't run FanDuel lineups yet. I'm more interested what I end up doing there. He's 12.8, but you only get the one center spot. On the one hand, you just have softer pricing than DraftKings, but you get the one center spot, so the opportunity cost is higher. I assume with the projections that I have on him, I'm still just going to get a ton of Jokic at 11% owned, but he does look more difficult to get to on FanDuel. We have him with a 9.5% chance of being optimal on FanDuel at 11% ownership, compared to 14.5% to be optimal on DraftKings at 19.5% ownership. So I am fully expecting to be jamming him on DraftKings. I assume I'm going to be playing a lot of him on FanDuel, but I'm interested to see how that looks since there is only the one center spot.
Yeah, and I would not be like even dropping down. Like I'm 2x the field on Trey and Maxey, but that's like I'm getting 10 instead of 5. Same for like Lauri Markkanen at 8,600. I didn't expect that to be showing up. I think I'm really just finding a smaller range and getting a little bit less of the ultra random like pay down options.
Yeah, and here's another I think point in favor of Jokic on DraftKings, and it's kind of counterintuitive. And I kind of just thought of it. So if it doesn't make sense, tell me. But like, yeah, there's not a lot of good, cheap value. But like we said, there are a lot of just cheap guys that are going to play minutes and somebody's going to run into a big game. When you have like the 9K range is efficient. Like Trae Young is priced correctly. Fox is priced correctly. Maxey's priced correctly. You're not looking at any of these guys and saying, oh, they're underpriced. So you can say like, there's not good, cheap value. The pricing is sharp towards the bottom. That makes it tough to get to Jokic. But then it's like, okay, if I'm not going to Jokic, I'm going more balanced and I'm playing, this 9K range as my top end. They're correctly priced. Like there's not value there. There is value on Jokic's salary.
Sure.
Even at 12.5.
Yeah. Like even with my projection, he's over. I've got him over 5x as like a baseline projection at 12.5. That's nuts to think about.
Right. If you sort our projections right now, points per dollar, the $12,500 guy is number one.
Same for me.
And so that's what it comes back to for me is if you made like Trae Young 8,400 and De'Aaron Fox 8K and Maxey 8,200, then I'm going to play less Jokic because then I can play those guys, upgrade to like, some 5K or 6K guy over Gallinari, or even, a couple of those guys over, Gallinari, Branham. And those lineups are going to look really good. But when everybody's correctly priced and Jokic is the most underpriced guy on the slate, I'm just getting back to playing a ton of Jokic.
Who do we have second?
Barrett, Harris, Melton, Embiid, Robinson, all like the same.
Where the fuck do I have RJ Barrett?
We just updated, so I just refreshed.
RJ Barrett, best point per dollar play?
Yes. We have him at 5.6. We have Jokic. We have Jokic at 5.63. We have Barrett at 5.61. Harris at 5.35. Melton 5.34.
I'm a fucking idiot. I'm not looking at the right shit. Yeah. I was looking at fantasy points per minute. And I was like, man, I got RJ Barrett like 50.
You don't have Barrett at 5 fantasy points per minute?
No. I was like, dude, this does not make a damn piece of sense to me. I'm scrolling down like I don't even see RJ Barrett's name. Oh man, that's good. Yeah, totally different calculation there.
Yeah, if you sort, so we have a value column in our projection sheet, which I'm not going to lie and say that I know the equation off the top of my head, but it's not.
It's above the table, I believe.
No, points above or below 5x salary. Yeah, so it's salary divided by 1,000 times 5.
Yeah.
We have Jokic at 7.9. Barrett is next at 3.9.
That's crazy.
So again, that's kind of just what it comes back to for me is Jokic is the most underpriced guy on the slate.
He's great. I have nothing else to. I can't argue with you. He's awesome. I wish I had more of him. I don't. That's just how things are running for me today. But by all means, please get to every bit of Nikola Jokic you can fit into your lineups. That said,
Lavender
I am
Jones.
getting
I
to Michael
don't know
Porter
Jalen
Jr.
Johnson.
I am getting to MPJ. I am getting to Aaron Gordon. I am getting to KCP, Reggie Jackson. I do have a lot of the Nuggets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm getting a lot. I have 40% Aaron Gordon right now, so I'm over the field. I'm like 2x the field there. Reggie Jackson's getting 11% ownership. I have 28, so I'm over the field there. I'm actually a little bit under on Michael Porter Jr., only getting 10%. I'm getting 8% KCP. I'm just getting a lot of Denver. It's a solid matchup against the Pels. They've been one of the faster teams this year. They've been one of the weaker defenses, not Washington or Charlotte level, but they haven't been very good. And yeah, I'm just very happy to get, getting to this team. One other thing I like from a Jokic standpoint, the Pels are one of those weird teams where, like, as a whole, they haven't been very good defensively, but they do potentially have Herb Jones. So, like, you'll get that issue sometimes where it's like you take a point guard against the Pels and you're like, oh, well, the Pels haven't been very good, but Herb Jones is very good. I don't think Herb Jones is doing a lot to Jokic.
Sort of.
Like, I think
look, I don't think anybody is.
Right, exactly. That's
the kind of, like, teams aren't guarding him with centers anymore.
Right.
They're guarding him with smaller, stouter players and burying their center on whoever you're, like, KCP probably.
Right. But, like, I'm not it's still different than, like, you turn the game on and it's just like, shit, Herb Jones is picking Shea up at half court. And
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's worse for guards because of the activity of it all. But yeah, like, they're not centers, like, everybody's probably just like, oh, centers guard Jokic, and that's, like, very
no. It's just like it's different. Like you said, it's just different, and I'm not as concerned about it.
Yeah. Are you getting anything on the Pels? I got a little bit of Ingram and Daniels, but it's like 8.
Yeah, I have 12% Ingram. Finally, getting a little bit of Ingram. 12% Ingram, 2% Zion, and that's all I have from the Pels.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add here.
5,100 Daniels getting 7%. Like, that's perfectly fine. But
yeah, assuming he starts again at least.
Right. Yeah. If he comes off the bench, I would ignore that. We didn't.
I was hoping Hawkins would have, like, a giant price drop or something. He didn't.
Right. He still played 33 minutes.
I know.
He was showing up, I think, on FanDuel for me in the lineup generator video. I know I said his name today. I think it was FanDuel. Nothing really too crazy came out of their rotation last game. Like, you got 20 minutes from Najee.
Done on the Pels?
Yep.
Lakers are 9-point favorites in Portland, 224 total. Highest owned guy is LeBron at 6%, which should tell you everything you need to know. He's also questionable. So if he ends up out, don't be afraid to get yourself a little bit more Anthony Davis and some of the other guys here for the Lakers. I have 7% AD, 3 of LeBron, 3 of Reeves. I just don't have a lot of the Lakers.
Yeah, it's always tough to get to a lot of this team when they're healthy. Right now, I have 4% Davis, 2% Russell, and that's it on DraftKings. Clearly, if you get some LeBron, that's fine also. But those are the 3 guys getting like 5 to 6% ownership. They're like 5 to 8% to be optimal. If I were getting less Jokic, I'm sure I'd be getting more Davis. That's like a trade-off you could talk about. Instead of 12-5 for Jokic, what if I go down to 10-1 Davis, and then I can get less of the 35% owned Branham and more of some 6K guy? Perfectly reasonable. But again, it just goes back to the pricing. Like, a lot of
that's a worse play in terms of, like, allocating points and money.
Right. The problem there is, like, yeah, cool, I'm getting off $3,900 Branham. Most of your, like, $6,500 options that you'd be moving up to are, like, overpriced. And so it's just like, oh, cool, I'm getting to play Kevin Huerter at $6,000.
Yeah.
And I'm giving up Jokic.
Maybe that's good ownership wise.
Right.
Like, you are taking a hit in your projection for
right.
that.
Like, I'm giving up Nikola Jokic to go from Malachi Branham to Kevin Huerter. Like, why?
Yeah.
Other than ownership.
We don't have anything else for the Lakers, right?
Nope.
Actually, I want to hit you with one thing. We're running low on time because we went deep on Denver, but if LeBron happens to be out, it might not be as actionable since this game starts at 10 and you're probably buried at this point, like, if we don't get that news quickly. But at that point in time, AD at 10-1 starts to become a much more interesting pivot off of a 12-5 Jokic.
Yeah. If you were to get that news, like, in time to do it, which you probably aren't, but that certainly, Davis looks a lot better if he's out. Russell looks better. Everybody looks better. Like, you get Rui at 4,700 becoming a thing.
Yeah,
potentially. Like, the Lakers certainly look a lot better if LeBron or Davis were to get ruled out.
Only guys in double digits of ownership on Portland are Jeremy Grant at 11 and Shaedon Sharpe at 11. They are the 2 guys that I have the most, basically 20% for both guys. That works for me. If I'm going to get to anybody, it's the guys that, if it's competitive, are probably playing 40 minutes.
Yeah, I have 20% Maze right now. He's 8% owned on DraftKings, 6,700. I don't love it, but at 8% and a pretty reasonable price tag, I think that's a good enough play. I have 18% Grant, 14% Sharp. So those are the three I'm getting to. The same three the field is getting, some pieces of. 11% ownership coming into Grant and Sharp. So I'm a little bit over on those guys. And then I have like a random DeAndre Ayton lineup.
Okay. Yeah, I did get a bit of Skylar Mays, which I wish I didn't. 6,700.
Yeah, same page. He's my highest owned guy from Portland.
Yeah. Yuck. Yuck.
What's he at without Brogdon this year? I'm pulling it up now.
He's at 0.93 for the season. So I can't imagine it wiggles too much. I don't think he had a shit ton of minutes.
Yeah, three games without Brogdon, 0.97 DraftKings points per minute, 19% usage, but a 41.7% assist percentage.
And I don't think this would change all that much. It's basically 4 games. Brogdon went out in 5 minutes. Mays played 37 minutes that game.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I know why you're getting it. Yeah,
right.
I know why you're getting it like that, but I don't think that's going to like change the equation all that much.
Yeah. Overall, without Brogdon on the floor, 131 minutes, 0.98 DraftKings points per minute for Mays, about a 20% usage rate. Assist percentage is at 40%. I mean, that's the big thing, is that he's just taken over the playmaking role.
Phoenix Suns
doesn't matter.
Phoenix Suns, 5.5-point favorites in Utah, 236 total. Your boy, Bradley Beal, a.k.a. less good Jordan Poole, is out for weeks now. Booker available, Eubanks available, Jordan Goodwin available. 10% ownership to Eric Gordon, 7 to Durant. I don't see a single priority here for Phoenix.
Only guy I'm getting is Gordon. I have 18%. So I'm over the field, but again, I think that's partly just a Jokic thing.
Yeah.
Point guard, shooting guard, 4,800. I don't feel good about Eric Gordon, but he at least has the opportunity to do well. For the season, he's at 0.82 DraftKings points per minute. Good enough to use to get some Jokic.
Are you using $4,100 point guard, shooting guard Colin Sexton to get to Jokic? He is 32% owned right now, the highest owned dude on Utah by a mile.
Actually, not a lot. I have 12%.
That's really weird, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just thinking about how that would end up. It's probably just that Branham is showing up better for me, and I don't want a lot of Branham plus Sexton plus Jokic lineups.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, like if I would gladly turn, if I'm going to play a combined 65% Sexton and Branham, I would gladly turn that into 30% a piece. I don't have a reason to have some crazy Malachi Branham stand, but we have Sexton at 32% owned, 17.5% chance to be optimal. I have 12% right now. Again, that's something that I think is just going to, my personal exposures are going to vary. From a value standpoint, he looks good. He's probably playing 24, 25 minutes on average. He closed the last game, but Markkanen didn't. That's obviously not.
He's only played 24 minutes this season once, and that was 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of assume he's going to keep playing minutes.
Just saying.
Yeah. But I mean, like you had THT playing more minutes early in the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the first half last game, you got like a pretty normal, backup guard rotation where he played 4 minutes to close the first. He played 7.5 to open the second. The reason that he got to 28 minutes was he played the final 16, almost 17 minutes of that game. Markkanen wasn't in the closing lineup. So I don't buy into that. But if you get like 24 minutes from Sexton, he's gonna look like a good value. If you get 22 even at 4,100, he looks okay. So I'm not getting as much as the field there. I am getting Clarkson's the guy I'm getting to the most. 24% Clarkson, so I'm like 2x there at 6,800. Point guard, shooting guard. I like that piece.
Yeah, I think the issue here was that they were in the midst of a basically 19-2 run to close out that game, and you're just not making subs at that time.
But like even they subbed in. I mean, they subbed in George, Agbaji, Collins, and Clarkson. They just didn't. They took Markkanen out.
Yeah, they took the real guy out. They don't want him to get hurt.
Right.
It's an interesting spot. Are you getting to Collins or Clarkson or Markkanen? I'm doubling up on Markkanen here. 5%.
I'm 2x on Clarkson. I have 8% Collins, so I'm pretty much in line with the field. I have 4% Agbaji, 2% Keontae George. I don't have any Markkanen.
All right. Well, let's close this bad boy out. Houston Rockets, 7.5-point dogs in Los Angeles, 218 total. 12% ownership to Şengün at 7,700. I can't imagine you have that. 10% to Fred VanVleet, whose minutes are starting to look more like Toronto's minutes. I don't mind that one at all. I think Jalen Green is underrepresented, but like properly priced at 6,600. So it's not really happening on a slate like this. Do you see anything for Houston?
Did you say you didn't think I had Şengün?
I just assumed that you had 100% Jokic and you're running out of center spots.
Nah, I have 14% Şengün. I still have unlimited centers.
Okay.
Yeah, so Şengün's my highest owned guy from Houston. I have 14%. I have like 4% Van Vliet and Green. For the most part, this is just a team where I think, from a players, a talent standpoint, these guys obviously all have pretty high ceilings, but I'm not getting to a lot. Şengün, my highest owned guy, like I said. I have lost my Jae'Sean Tate from this morning, which is perfectly fine. I'm fine with that either way. I think I had like 15% this morning or something. If I start using him in place of Branham a little bit, okay, whatever. But not getting to him is also perfectly fine.
And then finally on the Clippers side, we got the news that Russell Westbrook is just such an incredible teammate that he no longer wants to start. So they're going to make a move there. 27% ownership coming into a $3,800 Terance Mann. I don't know if that continues to go up through the night or not. I don't know if that's gone up in the hour that we've been live. I have 50. I think he's the best value play that exists on this slate. Not that I think that he's great. He's a 0.75 guy. I just feel better about Mann than I do about Malachi Branham, I think.
Yeah. I think the big thing is that he's forward eligible too.
Yes.
Small forward, power forward, 3,800, 0.74 DraftKings points per minute, 0.78 DraftKings points per minute in the games he's played with Paul George and Kawhi since the start of last season. Obviously, that's not factoring in James Harden. But he should just be out there enough minutes that he has a pretty good chance of paying off 3,800. We know that he's a real NBA player. The Clippers want him to be playing real minutes. So it just makes him, that plus the forward eligibility makes me confident's not the right word. Comfortable is not even the right word, but like, I feel better about Terance Mann's minutes than Malachi Branham's minutes. I feel better, than Colin Sexton's minutes, and then the positional eligibility on top of that. He's my highest owned guy right now. It's not going to be a fun sweat. You're just hoping he runs into some defensive stats, but he's really cheap, and it's more about what it gets you elsewhere.
I don't have much else of the Clippers other than 3 to 4% of Zubats, Harden, Kawhi, Powell, Paul George. I don't have Russ.
I have a lot of Powell. I have 22% Powell.
I have 12.
So I think that's the answer partly to where is my Colin Sexton going to which is fine with me. 7% owned Norman Powell at 4K instead of a 32% owned Colin Sexton at 4,100. That's a pivot that I'm very happy making. So I have basically the same combined ownership as the field on those two. I just have more Powell. So I'm cool with that. I don't love Norman Powell, but like the way that works out is fine with me. I have 6% Kawhi, 4% Harden, 4% Zubats, but it's Mann and Powell as far as where I'm actually getting.
Thank you, Russell Westbrook, for being such a hero for this team, the heart and soul of the LA Clippers. Anything else? We got to get out of here. I'm just going to go with no. Live before lock coming up next. Shout out to Vivid Picks. Hit that like button, by the way. Let's run that number up a little bit higher. 2,600 people here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
We are back for another edition, a huge edition of the Stochastic Hall of Fame, coming at you hot, fresh off $1 million winner for one of our subs. And man, that is awesome. All you got to do to get involved. Now, he might not need a free sub anytime soon, but you want to get a free sub, $200 value, whether it's NBA, Sims package, everything. NFL, everything up to $200 for the month. All you got to do, and to get inducted right here in the Stochastic Hall of Fame every single week, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins to us at Stochastic HOF. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you got a free month. Any Stochastic package you want, up to $200. And of course, induction right here in the Hall of Fame. Let's get started. First up, Short Gamer TV. Wow, or what a Sunday. Wow. Shout out to the Stochastic team and the Sims. Couldn't have done it without them. 1 million. Short Gamer TV took down the Millie yesterday. Obviously a very sharp dude, but utilizing the Stochastic tools, the Sims, all of it comes full circle. It's a beautiful thing. Shout out to Short Gamer TV. That has to be the greatest feeling in the world. $1 million win to kick off the week. Peter Hanley's back on the board. What's up, Peter? Got to get that free month and get to play a lot of NFL tomorrow. $13,000. Look at that three-way chop in the NBA Showdown fadeaway, followed by Maxwell Miller. Got second in the 65K NFL Spike on FanDuel yesterday. Thanks to all of you for helping me become a better DFS player. $3,000 win, second place for Maxwell. And Michael Yamada, multiple mini-mag. I love seeing these because remember, doesn't matter if you're entering 25-cent, 5-cent contest. Doesn't matter what you win. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, no matter the contest, you're in. Free month and up here. Minimax takedowns on DraftKings and a 3-way chop for first on Owner's Box. We've been seeing a lot of Owner's Box wins pop up lately. Thankful for the NBA Sims tool as well as the amazing content. Shout out to Michael for 4 takedowns there. Braden, think I'm finally figuring out how to get the word out, Stochastic. Finished second in the Minimax last Sunday at Owner's Box. Again, the tools, especially the Sims, are making a big difference for me this year. Congrats, Braden. And Michael Phillips, Stinger 22. $3,000 win. Sims tool already paying dividends. You love to see it. How about Kevin Cutler? Biggest win so far for me. Thanks to Stochastic and the usual suspects. Haven't even started working with the Sims yet either. Watch out. Let's see that name in lights again. $5,000 for Kevin Cutler yesterday. We keep going. Big ones this week. Brett Shoup, little late posting this one. Another hit due to the awesome Live Before Lock videos. The data is real, my friends. $5K for Brett as well. And Mike Marks, Stochastic Hall of Fame, 3 fire emojis, $250. Second place in the 5K Minimax with Sean Geezy following up 2 in a row. Second out of 36K entries in the 15K Mini. Shout out to the crew as always. Then he had another one. He's up here a lot. Sean's up here a lot. Another Minimax win. Shout out to Stochastic crew for the best tools in the game. $500 takedown there. We go to AJJ or AJ245, one or the other. Just shouting out the guys at Stochastic again. Best tools and best knowledge in the game. It's helped me become a better DFS player. $300 second in the 7.5K Minimax for AJ. With Johnsy, how about this? Took down the Warriors versus Nuggets showdown, $15 Slate. Thank you, Stochastic, for the tips. First place out of 11,700 entries. Some chops there, but we're throwing it up anyway because that's a nice $1,700 win. And we round this one out with Trappist Monk. Thanks to Stochastic for the great show on Saturday featuring the sharp NHL minds of Slim Cliffy and Josh. Their insight and advice helped me build some nice lineups, one of which took down the 2K quarter jukebox. Appreciate all you guys putting these in. And congrats to everybody. You've now been inducted in the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Go collect those free subs. Download the avatar if you don't have it. Use it wherever it is you play. We'll see you back here next week with some more winners.
Wife having a United Club card, very useful, but
Newark Airport, it's like the Newark of airports.
It's like the Newark of airports. That is accurate. I will say New Jersey is like really pretty right now. Taking the train out was like, I don't know, I was looking out the window and I felt like fucking Oscar Wilde or something.
We get a bad rap out here.
Didn't expect it. I've been to New Jersey like twice, ever.
What is happening, everybody? It is Friday. It is time for NBA Live Before Lock. And listen, it's an 11-game NBA slate. What else could you expect? There's a very, very lengthy injury report. And Eric and I are going to be getting through all of it here. So if you guys could do us a favor as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Vivid, who is sponsoring our show today. If you guys haven't checked out Vivid, the main reasons to do it, other than it's a new site to be playing on and one of the easiest ways in like the pick'em/betting space to really make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck is to, shop around at different places and make sure you're getting the best odds. But also, when you sign up at Vivid for the first time, you're going to get up to a $300 bonus on your first deposit when you use our link below, when their standard offer is only $100. And also, you're going to get a secure play up to $25. If your first card loses over at Vivid, they're going to get it back to you up to $25 in Vivid Bucks. If you or anybody know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Eric, the last time you and I saw each other, it was in person. We were tip to tip for real, not even over the interwebs. And Eric, you got to experience the great state of New Jersey. You got to spend some time in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're back in LA.
It was more like this because your brother was there too. It was
true,
tip to tip to tip. It was tri-tip. We had some tri-tip in the afternoon. Actually, chicken quesadillas, but they were delicious. Because when you leave LA, the thing you need is a chicken quesadilla for sure. I was gonna get like, oh yeah, let's go get that. But definitely fantastic stuff. And I was telling you before the show, like one of the better, I just felt like such an adult. It's like I took a train, like the NJ Transit, and was able to like find my way to you without fucking it up, which was pretty impressive. And then we just kind of like, you're looking around, fall is a thing. There's no fall in LA. That never happens. So got to enjoy the seasons, got to enjoy your Hogwarts like little house that you have, which is not little at all. It's got about 48 staircases. It's a workout in itself, but good to hang out with you. Good to hang out with your brother, and glad that I talked him into helping me with my card collection. I need it.
Yep. So Eric is not only friends with me, he's also friends with one of my brothers. Didn't get to meet the rest of my family quite yet. Next,
I need to meet the doctor. He's the one that I really want to hang out with.
Yes,
you can pay for vacations.
Yeah, parents, it's only our second date, so you don't usually meet the parents on the second day we met each other last summer. So next time you come around, you get to meet my parents, my other brother as well. And there it is. Look, wonderful meeting of Eric and I right there in Central Park, which is. Listen, we had a nice stroll in the park there. And clearly, as you can see, my Photoshop skills with all the years of content creating have really come around.
Solid stuff. But in all seriousness, one of my favorite vacations I've taken, and it was just, going across the country, got to see you, got to see Ben, got to do a lot of really cool stuff for my anniversary. And then my wife, she is way cooler than me. That just is what it is. She gets to do all these amazing, cool things. And I just sit at home and assess whether or not like I want to play anybody from Boston now. Those are the kind of things that I get to contemplate in my life. Probably not going to be doing that at all here today, but lots of interesting injury spots that we'll find out in the next 30, 40 minutes exactly who's going to be in my lineups, because I have no idea right now.
Yeah, and I mean, right away, shout out to Andre B in the chat saying he loves the purse. Thank you. It's one of the benefits of being with a nice man like Eric is you get the finer things in life, like really cool purses. So let's go ahead and start looking at this NBA slate by answering the questions you guys have for us. If you're in Discord channel, one of the perks of being a Stochastic member, at me in the channel, we could answer your questions. And if you are in YouTube and want to leave us a super chat, which I see we already have some in here, we'll be answering those as well, starting with who else but our guy Ace of Spade. Ace of Spade is kind of like, this is a little bit of an obscure reference, but if you watch a UFC post-fight press conference, every single one, John Morgan gets the first question. Ace of Spade is the John Morgan of the Stochastic YouTube channel, because every live before lock, we start by answering his DK tiers super chat. So Ace of Spade, thank you very much for the question.
Is he the guy with the glasses who's going to take over for Dana one day? Is he that guy?
No, John Morgan's just an overweight reporter.
Oh, never mind. He gets the first question. Okay, that's not who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know who it is that you're thinking of, but
it's like 11 months in. So when they were doing the USADA thing, talking about the doping, they're having like the big falling out. It was that guy who was talking. That's who I thought it was in the back of my head. The guy with the glasses.
Not sure.
Good talk. Glad we had it.
Neither here nor there. DK tiers. There's nothing more pressing to get to than DK tiers right now. Tier 1, Nikola Jokic is in tier 1. What else should we say? You're playing him there. We have Nikola Jokic projected for 70 fantasy points tonight. That's probably somebody you're going to want to have some exposure to. Tier 2, that is currently Anthony Davis for me. Now, with that said, it is tight. Tier 2, we got LaMelo Ball. We got Domantas Sabonis. We've got Anthony Davis. All of them you can make a good case for. The one that I like the most is going to be AD. Tier 3, that is currently LeBron for me, although there are different things that could be impacted here. And I see Mike has got DK tiers up on screen. Where Donovan Mitchell's in this tier, he's listed as questionable to play. Obviously, he's out. He's not a consideration. But Darius Garland is also questionable. So we get one of these situations where Garland is out and Mitchell's in. He would look pretty good. Right now, I'm going to go with LeBron, but definitely things could change in that tier. Tier 4, that is Trae Young for me. Tier 5, Brandon Ingram. And then Tier 6, Kawhi Leonard. Next super chat here is from Jake Lindlin. He's asking us, who does he need to lock in his single entry, Eric? Let's give him like 3 guys that are most important to play in a single entry lineup tonight.
This could change drastically, so just take that for what it is. But somebody who won't change is Nikola Jokic. He's only going to become more appealing as news starts to come out. Like, he's already appealing. And then if we get news to break a certain way, if we have Karis LeVert open up, if we have value from the Orlando side with Jalen Suggs questionable, if we have, I doubt LeBron James is going to be an issue, but like we have a number of different spots where things could break a certain way and just make Jokic even better. So I'll just start with the not free square. I mean, he's 12.5. He's the most expensive player on the slate, but relative to his price and then how easy he might be able to fit in later, I think you just play Jokic and move on.
Yeah, I'll agree with Nikola Jokic as well. He is currently in 48.7% of my set of 150 lineup. So I'm getting to a lot of Nikola Jokic. He's my favorite pay up option on the slate. If you're going to go cheap, One of the injury situations, I think we'd start by talking about, it's also going to be related to this. My favorite value play from the Spurs right now is Malachi Branham. And
Same.
we don't have all of the official starting lineup and whatnot for the Spurs. I'm going to double check to make sure that isn't the case, that it hasn't come through since we started here. But the Spurs are going to be without a couple of players in the backcourt tonight. And yeah, no official starting lineup for the Spurs yet, but I am assuming that Branham ends up starting. So the Spurs, they do not have Devin Vassell. They don't have Trey Jones. A lot of the other key injuries, it's players who are questionable. Suggs questionable, Barrett questionable, DeRozan questionable, LeBron questionable, Donovan Mitchell questionable, Garland questionable, Joel Embiid questionable. The players we know that are officially ruled out that we could talk about right now, Eric, are Devin Vassell and Trey Jones. So there are some players that I'm getting to from the Spurs. It never feels great because you never know what it is that Popovich is going to be doing with his rotation. But the guys that I'm prioritizing from the Spurs, it's Malachi Branham, Keldon Johnson, and then Zach Collins. For you, what do you like from San Antonio, the one defined injury spot that we have right now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a smattering of everybody. I don't have anybody that's showing up like a crazy amount. Victor Wembanyama has the multi-positional eligibility, but 8,700, I'm not just running to the window to go try to play him. You get Keldon Johnson, who's probably the most important offensive player, back into that rotation here today. I think that creates a little bit of an issue for me. He hasn't played since the 12th. So yeah, he missed all of 2 games for them. I'm with you. I think the piece that I would call quote unquote the best, assuming that he is going to be healthy, that he's assumed that he's going to be starting, is Malachi Branham. He's sub 4K. We don't have a ton of pronounced value sub 4K here right now. I think Malik Monk is a player that I'm going to be getting to a little bit more than the field. It looks like at 5,400, getting a little bit of that game involved. And then yeah, it starts pretty early for San Antonio, a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time startup. This is one that I had to double check a couple of times thinking that it was going to be 5:30 and I'd have some time to be able to swap into what I need. No. You could be looking at something where we don't have Jalen Suggs news. And I would probably be prioritizing Cole Anthony and a couple of those other pieces because it's so easy to see exactly what we're going to be having from that situation. But we do know Trey Jones out. We do know Devin Vassell out. Those are the 2 pieces. This is already known. I think you're going to see Champagne or Branham or whomever else kind of just jump up to the top pending what this starting lineup looks like.
Yeah, and my expectation for the starting lineup, and once again, this is not something that's set in stone, just my best guess. Sochan, Branham, Keldon Johnson, Wemby, and then Zach Collins. The ones that we feel best about that, obviously, Sochan, Keldon Johnson, Wemby, Zach Collins. Very, very confident those 4 start. The 5th starter is probably going to be one of the top value plays on the slate. My expectation right now is that is going to be Malachi Branham. Do you think he's going to start, or are you going to say somebody else, or just not sure?
No, I think it's Malachi Branham. Yeah, okay. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm not going to play contrarianism. Although I think the last show we did, I mean, there were some things that went really, really well as far as just breaking things down and going against the grain, like De'Aaron Fox minutes. That was a good one where, if you had him for 36 minutes, you had an opportunity there. In this game environment here, De'Aaron Fox not really going to be a piece on the other side for me there. I'm looking at San Antonio. I'm going to get to a little bit of Zach Collins as well. Domantas Sabonis probably going to be the piece on the Sacramento side. Him and because of the price, Malik Monk having to get to a little bit of him. But we'll see what ends up happening here. We should have plenty of time, and we'll be able to react to it on this show, considering we're going for the extra half hour, correct?
Yes, we're going to be here for another hour and 10 minutes. So post-lock show, which I think is one you guys are going to stick around for.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not just the amount of players we have that are listed as questionable that we might not know right at lock. It's also that we've got guys and that in that 7:30 time slot that are key players that are questionable. It's like Joel Embiid locks at 7:30 Eastern time. We've got the Cavs locking. So we've Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland both questionable. So that's news that we may or may not have before lock, but it's certainly going to be impactful for the slate. And what are you doing with some of those players? So we have Joel Embiid questionable. We've got the Cavs players questionable. Is that changing how you're impacting the first couple games of the slate at all?
Not a ton, mainly because I don't have a ton from the first couple games. I have a couple shares of Giannis going through. I mean, Charlotte, you ended up getting both of those pieces to be active, and now you were adding Bridges. I just think it's a really unappealing spot to try to get to anything in that game environment. We'll see if RJ Barrett ends up getting ruled out, but now the prices have definitely adjusted. And, I have a little bit of Jalen Brunson, but nothing crazy. We got DeRozan and Caruso. They're both in, Mike. Both of those guys are in.
We've got
Oh,
We've
it's okay.
got
You put out
DeRozan in. We've got Caruso in. So no Bulls value to worry about. I could actually take them off of my my handwritten injury report here. So they're gone. They're gone. They're in.
Greg's secret stuff. Just write it off the bottle.
Yeah, if you ever want access to it, by the way, it's in the very top secret run sheet that I do, which gets posted within our Slack channel. And what it has in there is just a list of players who are questionable, which is also available anywhere on the NBA injury report. But I just put it in there so I could look at it while it is that we're talking. We've got a super chat here from Jason Robinson. Actually, a couple super chats just came in. This one from Jason says, do we like Koulibaly for over 12 PR prop? So I assume that's points plus rebounds.
Yep. Let me pull up exactly what I have here. I have him for 8.5 points. I have him for 4 rebounds. So I have over half over that. That would not be good enough for me to want to fire it, assuming standard juice.
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at Koulibaly, who I know people have been pretty excited about playing Koulibaly in DFS as of late. Not somebody I've really been getting to.
4,800 now. No, thank you.
Here's the one thing I will say about Koulibaly. I tend to agree with you. It's a stay away. If I had to take one side, though, so Jason, like if you are determined that you want to have a prize picks card that's including Koulibaly, I definitely prefer the over to the under.
Yes, but it's like ever so slight.
Next question here is from Teddy Wayman. Says, any Jazz love? I'll be at the game anyone I play. I believe I do have Jazz exposure tonight. Let me pull up my Jazz players here. All right, so Jazz.
So we can talk. I mean, John Collins is the guy that I have the most of on that team. Colin Sexton's going to pull ownership. If you look around the industry right now, that is somebody that everybody wants to get to. I'm currently allowing it in, but I'm knowing full well that there are going to be a lot of swaps that I can make. I probably don't want to be firing up any Terance Mann. He is pulling tons of ownership right now. And I'm just so uncertain what those minutes are going to be in a starting situation alongside a Kawhi, a Paul George, James Harden. So that's going to be tough for me to really land on. The main thing is like you could get that Lakers news to pop a certain way. Like I doubt LeBron James sits. I think everybody is of that notion. But like if he does, there are some underpriced pieces because everybody took a price, like a little bit of a discount. You got to slash down to 10-1 for Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell 7,100, Austin Reeves 6,100, given probably coming off the bench. Even if LeBron's out here, that's something that they've wanted to do. But Rui Hachimura 4,700 would become a slam dunk play. You have 2 hours between that 8 p.m. Eastern time and 10 p.m. Eastern time window. So there's 3 games to move stuff around with. But my highest owned pieces of that evening session are currently from the Jazz. So Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, and John Collins, the guy I have the most of.
Yeah, so this is way different for me across DraftKings and FanDuel, so I'll answer them individually. I know that Teddy's question, I'm actually not sure if he was asking specifically about DraftKings or FanDuel. I'm pretty sure DraftKings is usually what Teddy asks us about, but I'm going to answer for both sites anyway. I am well underway to the field on Colin Sexton. He's projected for north of 20% ownership. He's only in 10% of my top lineups, but instead, I really like Jordan Clarkson. So what I've done here is kind of flip-flop their ownership, where I have in my lineups 28% of Jordan Clarkson to the much lesser amount of Colin Sexton that I have, which I think serves as a pretty good pivot because one of the ways that Sexton fails is that Clarkson goes out, has a big game, which would mean a couple of things. If Clarkson's having a really big night, he's probably going to be on the court more. That's going to take away playing time from Sexton. Then the other thing, too, is if he's playing really well, the times that him and Sexton are on the court together, we know Jordan Clarkson isn't afraid to shoot. So I like that as a little bit of a leverage option, getting to more of Jordan Clarkson than Colin Sexton. And then as far as John Collins goes, he is crazy popular on FanDuel, like insanely popular. He's projected for nearly 60% ownership. So he actually is the power forward I got to the most, but I'm nowhere near what the field is. I have 40% of John Collins when he's projected for 60% ownership. Like that's a fairly significant stand underneath the field on him. So Collins to me is a strong out, like somebody you definitely want to play in cash games on FanDuel, but I'm going to be underweight to that kind of ownership. And then Keontae George is projected for 22% ownership on FanDuel. I think that's more or less warranted, about a fair ownership. And as far as DK goes, yeah, I don't have anybody else other than Clarkson that I'm actually getting a significant amount of from the Jazz at the moment.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's at the moment right now, you're able to see directly on the Sims tool the projected ownership as it filters in. None of those guys pulling a ton of ownership, but I gave a tiny little bit of a touch up to John Collins, mainly because I like the power forward center eligibility there, being able to have some exposure to more salary and a lineup spot there in that evening window, I guess, if you're out there on the East Coast, looking at getting myself to a little bit more of him and being able to turn that into with extra salary, guys like Anthony Davis, guys like Rui Hachimura that I will definitely be prioritizing if LeBron's out.
Couple more super chats here. This one coming from Dan Mauler, and Dan is asking us the FanDuel must plays. All right, so I'll tell you who my most rostered players are at each position for FanDuel, and then any kind of must plays. Do you have lineups built for FanDuel and DraftKings, or just one, Eric?
I built for FanDuel. I'm not playing FanDuel, so I'll tell you what I built out.
So the guys I would consider must plays on FanDuel, must plays. Here are the players like overall have the most exposure to there. It's kind of weird though, because like John Collins is one of them for me, but I'm also 20% underweight to the field on him. But
see, that's insane ownership. Yeah.
But so it's kind of like how do you want to interpret that? He's in, for over 40% of my lineups, but he's projected for 60% ownership. So he's definitely somebody you want to be playing in cash. For tournament purposes, though, I like being underweight to the field to him. But overall, my most rostered players at each position on FanDuel, DeAnthony Melton at point guard, also DeAnthony Melton at shooting guard. So I'll say Shaedon Sharpe at shooting guard, Jeremy Grant at small forward, John Collins at power forward, but with that said, underweight to him. And then at center for me, let's see. Let me see if the players were only center eligible. That is Jokic. There are other players I get more of, but it's because they're like power forward and center eligible.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more guy that I got a ton of when I was building over on FanDuel, Skylar Mays, a 6,900 point guard, shooting guard, Portland, Los Angeles. Again, just a player that, as I'm looking at like the evening slate, somebody on DraftKings that isn't really showing up for me that was kind of noticeable to see almost 30% of him on FanDuel.
And no news yet on RJ Barrett. I expect that's going to be coming in soon. That game locks in 32 minutes. And Barrett still is questionable, dealing with a migraine. We saw this the other day as well, where he had a migraine and they didn't roll him out until like 15 minutes before the game started. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Hill $sign is asking us, thank you guys for the win streak. Top options under 5K on FanDuel. Yeah, let's see. Under 5K. Players that I get to under 5K. Devontae Graham, who's not projected for a ton of ownership. I think he's somebody to play sub 5K, only projected for 7% ownership, made into a handful of my lineups, only $3,500. He's one. Let's see, under 5K. Who else? DiVincenzo, particularly if RJ Barrett is out, he's somebody else that you could consider. If Barrett's in, he would be less appealing, but want to throw him out just in case that ends up being the what ends up happening. I've got some exposure to Keontae George, but yeah, the one that really stands out to me the most, especially from a tournament angle to be contrarian with, is Devontae Graham.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on him. I mean, he's played 12, 17 minutes or something the last couple, but with no Trey Jones, there's definitely an opportunity for him to step into a larger role. He's the min on FanDuel. I think it's tough. I mean, obviously, we're going to all have Jokic exposure to some extent, or I think you should all have a Jokic exposure to some extent. But I think he's a little bit more appealing on FanDuel just because he's at the flat min to take that shot, even with the softer pricing. DraftKings, hard for me to imagine that I'm going to use a lineup spot on him unless he's starting, and I doubt he is.
Next question that we have, it is a super chat from Malukar, and just wholesome, saying, thank you guys for all the advice and laughs. Thank you, Malukar. We appreciate you. And yeah, Malukar, longtime supporter of the channel because he's been alive longer than anybody else who's on these shows or watched them in the audience. And we appreciate you, Malukar, for spending your time with us. And if you guys want to support the channel like Malukar, the easiest way to do it is just like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Got another super chat here from I Hustle For It. I Hustle For It is asking us, is it safe to skip the 7 p.m. games on FanDuel and wait for value to open up? If not, who are the top priorities from the first games?
We'll find out because I'm redoing some stuff for the Knicks. We have RJ Barrett out again. Obviously, all of their prices have taken a step up in his absence to begin with. This is going to be maybe a spot where I get to a little of the Josh Hart, a little of the Emmanuel Quickly. but it's primarily Randall. And I mean, in these spots, I've just been playing a little bit more Randall, a little bit more Brunson, just because they become a little bit better, a tiny tick up in usage. I think we want to probably get a little bit of exposure to Jalen Brunson more so than Julius. Julius Randle's really popular right now, and he's been playing better basketball, and it's Washington. So you can't really understate how bad Washington's been. We're seeing 38, 39 minutes in competitive spots for Randle. And if this game isn't competitive, it's because Randle probably put his, foot on the gas a little bit. But I'm taking a look at my lineups here. I want to get to, see, this is going to be a step up in fantasy point per minute rate. I'm going to put him at like 1.28, 1.22 he's been for the season. And again, playing much better basketball. Maybe it was a conditioning thing starting off the season, or the fact that, I don't know, Thibodeau plays him 40 minutes a game during the regular season a lot of the time. But primarily going to be those two. I think a little bit of Mitchell Robinson, nothing crazy. But Josh Hart probably goes from out of consideration for me to maybe a Scherer or two, but 5,900 isn't very appealing.
Yeah, so Julius Randle is definitely somebody you're going to want to get to, and Josh Hart, playable, not a priority. Quickly, playable, not a priority. But guys like Brunson, Randle, they each benefit a little bit, Randle being the highest priority from the team, and nothing else that really stands out too much from the Knicks. But now the question that he had asked about guys, like, could we just totally skip the 7 p.m. games on FanDuel? I really like LaMelo Ball at $9,500 on FanDuel. I would not totally forego him at all.
Yeah, 10-2 on DK, completely different. So I get completely why you would play him on FanDuel. Somebody that I got, a little bit like in the teens of, I didn't jam him by any means on FanDuel when I was building lineups over there before the show, but definitely think on DraftKings, not going to be somebody I get to.
Next question, a super chat. And then I see we got some questions in Discord. We'll hit on those next. Fantasy Guru 76 is asking us for the best value shooting guard and value small forward on FanDuel. Mike, if you wouldn't mind while we look through this, can you pull up the projections that we have for FanDuel over on the site? And we could sort by shooting guard and small forward, but also I'm going to look through some of the exposures I got through the Sims and try to find out who it is that are the best value shooting guard and small forward. So we're looking a little bit on the cheaper end at shooting guard. I'm going to say at fairly low ownership, Dante DiVincenzo, 4K on both shooting guard and small forward on FanDuel. He's somebody who I would consider to be a pretty good value at both of those spots. Keontae George is another serviceable one.
I throw D'Angelo Russell out there regardless of LeBron James, because he's 7,300 over on FanDuel. That's not really value. Going through my FanDuel exposures, Cole Anthony, 5,300, and he's already got positive leverage. He could become one of the most important pieces of the slate if you have Jalen Suggs ruled out. I'm inclined to say him at 5,300 regardless. We know he has a ceiling where he's a willing participant in the shooting department, and maybe Jalen Suggs' minutes are somewhat limited here. I think that's a pretty good one at 5,300.
Next question that we have, and now we're getting into the Discord questions. This one is coming from Cleveland to 27. He says he's getting to an uncomfortable amount of Devontae Graham on FanDuel. Thoughts? I had about 30% of Devontae Graham, rerunning everything now for Knicks stuff.
We're getting Dante DiVincenzo starting here because, Quentin Grimes out. He was ruled out earlier today. Yeah. I thought, there was a chance it was going to be quickly. 4,700 on DK. It's in the realm of playable. Again, I don't think it can be understated. Everybody took a price hike already here. And I get Grimes. It's 29 minutes to replace, but they can do some different things to potentially make this kind of a headache. Miles McBride, somebody you don't really see out there a whole heck of a lot anymore. There's at least a chance. Oh, Donovan Mitchell. All right, I'll stop talking.
Yeah, and Donovan Mitchell also ruled out. Darius Garland will play. But we're just going to have a lot of shit that we're going to have to update here. So let's give it a second for some of the projections to update. We'll circle back on those. But now that DiVincenzo's starting, even more so, like he was already my answer for Fantasy Guru for value at shooting guard and small forward at 4K on FanDuel. Now especially so. Dante DiVincenzo, definitely somebody to be getting to. And we have the just quick reaction to Garland being in and Mitchell being out. We want to play Darius Garland tonight.
We want to play a lot of Darius Garland. We want to play some Karis LeVert in our lives too. We want to play some Evan Mobley. I mean, you're replacing a guy who's a 32% usage guy in Donovan Mitchell. There are going to be shots available. Darius Garland's just been a 0.98 fantasy point per minute guy. That is going to go up. I'm also projecting it to be north of 1.1 here in this spot. He is 7,200 on DraftKings. I would call him a priority.
I mean, this is just like an initial reaction looking at the pricing, what I think the lineups are going to look like. Karis LeVert's $6,900. I don't know how much of him I'm going to get at that price point.
I bet I get a little bit. Again, I'm not going to be windmill slamming him probably the same way Darius Garland's going to get windmill slammed. I like Evan Mobley a lot. I don't know how many people are going to be getting to him relative to Darius Garland, but I mean, Evan Mobley's a 1.21 fantasy point per minute guy this season. He is power forward center eligible. He can be played a lot of different places. And right now we have a pretty, I would call it light projection on his minutes. I think there's room for it to go up from 33.5 that we currently have him at. Like, this could be really fun for Evan Mobley. I'm going to be probably playing a little bit more of him. And Max Strus, somebody who can take in a little bit more of that usage, be somebody that can be in play. Probably not going to be going to George Niang. I would rather eat paint than play Dean Wade, so that's cool.
Yeah, and with Dean Wade starting, this really helps Darius Garland because Dean Wade, yeah, I know I've played this man and have many regrets. I played Dean Wade as one of my favorite value plays on a slate 2 weeks ago. I haven't slept since. It still haunts me. But the one thing that we've learned from, I mean, we know this about Dean Wade in general, but we definitely learned from that experience. Not a high usage guy, which should filter more shots to the likes of Darius Garland, to Evan Mobley. We haven't seen a situation this year where it's been Garland in and Mitchell out. So you didn't really know who that other piece was going to be in the starting lineup. Could it have been Karis LeVert? Where else were they going to go? With it being Dean Wade, you have to feel pretty good about Garland's usage and the amount of time the ball is going to be in his hands. So when I update everything, I am going to assume that Garland's probably going to be my most rostered player.
Probably. I mean, I don't want to say it mainly because it could end up being Cole Anthony anyway. Well, we'll find out. Jalen Suggs, that game locks at the same time. You're definitely going to want to stick around here now. Wait, Orlando's half an hour after. This could end up being a shit show. This could be really fun.
Always is. Always is. Next question that we have in the Discord channel is from Howdy06. He wants to know, do I adjust the ROI on the sim tool to adjust exposure or just go with the tool gives you when you run the sim? I generally just run it. And here's the times I may tinker with some stuff. Is if we have like super late breaking news, which, you know, does happen from time to time in NBA, could even end up happening today. Let's say that I end up running everything and like I don't get everything done until like 5 minutes before the slate locks. If I want to make like a quick adjustment, I don't have time to run another sim, that's when I'll use the ROI boost. But in general, I just kind of let the data do what it does. And I just roll out what it tells me are the top ROI lineups.
Those are good ideas, because the data is going to be smarter than us. It is just what it is. But I will once in a while, again, there are times when you can feel like an artificial amount of ownership coming in on a certain play, or that a certain play is just going to be drastically under-owned relative to their chance of success. I think Cole Anthony is the most obvious example on this slate that is going to be kind of pressing news. You could see him having crazy high ownership if that news breaks now. You could also see him having almost no ownership if that news breaks closer to when this show ends. So there are lots of ways that you have to kind of think about NBA DFS in the late swap game.
Next question that we're getting here. And by the way, if you guys are looking to sign up for the Sims tool, we do have a promo going right now. Promo code Millie is going to get you 20% off when you sign up for the first time. You can use that for the NFL package. You can use it for the NBA package. The reason we're running it is the promo code Millie, and the reason we got this discount going, we had somebody win $1 million last Sunday playing NFL DFS. We had somebody win $1 million. We had somebody win the 20 max $3 contest for $100,000. We had somebody win the mini max, and it was all using the Sims tool. So with all the success that people were having, we wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity to get in on it. And we want to celebrate the big wins also. So promo code Millie is going to get you 20% off when you sign up for the first time. So use that link below if you're looking to sign up, and make sure you enter that promo code Millie for 20% off. Next question here is from Timmy. Timmy2937 says Cash Core. Okay. So if we're talking about like guys we want to be building around in cash, by the way, we just had a projection update 51 seconds ago. So I'm checking this out for the first time here. We have Julius Randle projected for nearly 50 fantasy points at 8,800. Yeah, somebody you're going to want to be. Your camera turned off, by the way.
Did it really? It's been doing this. I don't know why. Every time I run the Sims tool, it does this. This is insane.
Eric after dark.
Whatever.
So, Nikola Jokic,
certainly one
that you want to be playing in cash games. Julius Randle, somebody you want to be playing in cash games. And now also with some of the other situations that opened up, like Garland is somebody else you certainly want to be playing in cash games. Darius Garland, we project for 45 fantasy points at $7,200. So I know I threw out some expensive guys there. So maybe won't be able to fit all of them into lineups. I haven't rerun everything yet. But Darius Garland is the number one highest priority cash game play for me. Julius Randle, also a fairly high priority. And on the low end, if he ends up starting Malachi Branham, probably the value play that you want to be getting to. Any other guys that you are going to want to be prioritizing in cash, Eric?
I'm going to the laptop camera. I can't deal with this bullshit. Here we go. Cool. There we go. And we are back. I am looking at, you're going to be playing Nikola Jokic. There's not a question in my mind that he is somebody that, for cash purposes, news is only going to help him as you're moving along. I will kind of updating my stuff here at the same time. I think you probably play Tobias Harris in cash, even though I'm not in love with it. I think the one guy that I'm pretty vehemently against is Terance Mann. I don't think he's going to be a 0.57 fantasy point per minute guy over the course of the next however many weeks and months. But I just think that 3,800 is so thin for a guy that has to now share the court with Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden to start with. And it's not getting a whole lot better with Russell Westbrook off the bench. You're not going to be getting that usage off the bench where, he could come in and maybe be independent of two of those pieces at some given point in time. I would much rather play Malachi Branham between the two of them at near close salaries there, assuming that Malachi Branham is the guy that we get as starting for San Antonio. And then I would probably fill in with like Jokic, fill in with some later players, maybe having some Clarkson, have a little bit of swappability, and then allow yourself to be able to get to Cole Anthony in the event that we have Jalen Suggs out.
Yeah, one thing about this slate is I did have not like a crazy amount of exposure to Terance Mann, but a decent amount going into the start of the show, but never with the expectation of having as much of them as I had, because I knew that more players were going to get ruled out. And something that you and I talk about a decent amount is if somebody is projecting as like a decent value play, I don't have an issue prioritizing them when they're in that later starting block, even if you might be a little bit skeptical of them, because almost always you could bank on more injury news happening over the course of an NBA slate, and it just gives you the flexibility to make some more swaps. So I'm going to probably get to some of Terance Mann still, but there are definitely other value plays that I'm going to prioritize over him.
There you go.
See what else we have coming in to the Discord channel in form of questions here. The process is asking us, do we like Paul George or Brandon Ingram for a DK tournament? Can you, Mike, throw up the player compare tool on screen? And we'll look at what it says for Paul George versus Brandon Ingram. And he says it's for a small field tournament. This isn't for something that's large field. So with that in mind, I don't think we have to worry too much about ownership for just a small field. So let's look at what it says for Ingram versus Paul George. Do you have like a real lean on this off the top of your head, Eric?
Ingram.
Let me see.
Definitely Ingram for me.
For me. Ingram. What's that, Mike? All good. It's we don't have to use it to answer here. It's very, very close between the two of them. I'm not exactly sure what the dynamics of the Clippers are going to look like now that Russell Westbrook is moving to the bench. By the way, starting lineup official for the Cavs: Garland, Strus, Wade, Mobley, Jared Allen. I'll just say it's very close. I'll agree with you and say Brandon Ingram, but we're splitting hairs here because the Clippers might look way more cohesive without Westbrook in the starting lineup. And it also just might be easier for guys like Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi to all get their touches now that he's not in the mix. And we actually had a question about that as well, where somebody asked us what we think about Harden for today. Are you getting to any of the Clippers guys with this? Outside of some interest in Terance Mann, any of the core Clippers guys with Westbrook moving to the bench?
Yeah, I have a tiny bit of Norman Powell right now. I have a tiny bit of a Vik Zubats, even though I don't really like his profile here. With Mason Plumlee out, they now said that Daniel Tice is going to be active for tonight, which just sounds like a whole lot of fuckery to me. But PJ Tucker, they can go small and do certain things that direction if they really, really want to. With Russell Westbrook off the bench, again, you're still just going to have 3 of the 4 guys on the floor rotating in constantly. They might not all 4 be on the floor together for nearly as much time. But you're going to have guys like, yeah, it's so hard for me to get to anybody there still. You called this way ahead of time where it's so hard to know on any given day. I think if you make me play anybody here, it's going to be Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Like that's just kind of who makes the most sense for me. But I'm more inclined to take random shots on some of the lesser known pieces, not Terance Mann.
Yeah, I mean, so are you not playing any of Terance Mann?
I have virtually none. I have 4%.
We have him projected for about 19.78 is our fantasy point projection on him. He's going to make it into some lineups for me. I'm just not going to have as much as the field, though.
It's just so thin. And there's enough pieces of news that can drop where I don't think he'll be somebody that ends up like he's probably going to have some kind of artificial ownership because he's projecting out well now that won't exist on just about anybody else that you swap into. So like if you have them as a placeholder, I have no problem whatsoever. I have other placeholders. I really have no interest in playing Terance Mann in this kind of a situation. Him starting again, Russell Westbrook's going to need minutes. He's not going to go from being like, he's not going to play 24 minutes tonight. I would be absolutely floored by it. And does Terance Mann maybe get the first crack to stay out there? Sure. But like, I don't see a whole lot of usage coming his direction. He's been a 0.6 fantasy point per minute guy this season. You're adding another mouth to feed in James Harden that wasn't necessarily there before. A lot of role players that were surrounding these guys before. I mean, this is just such an unappealing spot to try to like mine out value. I get it. He's a starter, sub 4K. Like everything makes sense, but also the game environment is just brutal. Houston playing at one of the slowest paces in the NBA now. Udoka knows what he's doing. I mean, this is a team that's playing very slow on purpose. They're 6-3. They're doing things to try to win basketball games. They haven't really played anybody. One of the weaker strengths of schedule, adjusted strengths of schedule so far this season. But like Terance Mann, no matter what, is not going to be in my lineups.
12 minutes to go until lock, but Eric and I'll be sticking around for the 30 minutes post lock as well. If you guys haven't done it, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Super chat from Scott H. He's asking, play Randall on DK with lock at 7 or better off waiting until other news comes out? So I am prioritizing getting to Julius Randle today. I think he's somebody you want to have exposure to.
You want to have exposure to Julius Randle. I think you want to have exposure to Dante DiVincenzo. I think you want to have a little bit of exposure to Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. But yeah, Julius Randle is the guy that's going to pop the most for me there.
Got some questions in the Discord channel to answer as well here. This one is coming to us from Hef Love. He said, with Westbrook heading to the bench, do you like the upside on James Harden? On FanDuel, I do. James Harden is very cheap on FanDuel. I think he makes more sense on FanDuel than DK.
I would agree. I have one question, because this is somebody who's starting to show up for me, and it's just like a question of like, what do you think like the actual potential is here in this spot? When we're talking about these, like, does Evan Fournier play minutes for the Knicks today?
Probably not. I mean, we've seen what Thibodeau does. He plays pretty tight rotations. Like, even if Fournier plays, it's not going to be meaningful. I don't think anyway.
Okay. I'm just trying to carve out what this rotation is. I'm like piecing together minutes and trying to like finish this up before I move on to whatever happens with Orlando later. But I mean, DiVincenzo is very obvious. I think Josh Hart a little bit better than I expected him to be. Quickly a little bit better than I expected him to be. I mean, either Josh Hart's going to have to play a boatload of minutes, or they're going to have to dip into Miles McBride, who I talked about a little bit earlier, or Evan Fournier, and both of them are a flat 3K. And I think the shooting guard small forward eligibility of Fournier has me like thinking that maybe he comes out, knocks down shots, and actually plays today. And that's got me at least contemplating it.
I think Hart and Randall both play close to 40 minutes.
All right, then there you go. Then screw everything I just said.
Yeah, because go ahead and look at some of the other games we've seen from the Knicks when they're shorthanded, and not just this year, but dating back to other years. Like, I mean, Tibbs just runs his dudes into the ground. Do you know how many minutes 2 games ago Josh Hart played in a start? He played 43 minutes.
I saw that he got to 40, but I didn't know if it was 43 or what it was. But
here's the playing time. Playing time from that game. 43 minutes for Hart, 39 for Brunson, 38 for Randall, and that's even though Randall got into some early foul trouble.
Interesting.
So I just think they run these dudes into the ground.
Well, I can't wait to play Chalk Randall. This is going to be very enjoyable.
Let's see what I've got here. Oh, I've got a ton of Garland, a lot of DiVincenzo. I mean, we've got DiVincenzo also hasn't played like a massive role. He's somebody else who's going to step up and play over 30 minutes now. So I don't think they have to give minutes to Fournier.
Okay. I just was trying to I was just talking through it a little bit because, I've been known to try to find the guy once in a while, and Fournier can actually go get you a bucket. Like, those are the guys where it's like, okay, maybe this isn't the right slate on an 11-game slate with more news to come, but wanted to at least throw out there that I'm a crazy person and that I was thinking about it.
So if I'm playing somebody who's not like totally off the board for the Knicks, but he's projected for 15% ownership now, the guy that I'd be going to for lower ownership on New York is Quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Probably. I mean, again, I think there can be some volatility in these minutes. Just you're going to see like a certain guaranteed allotment for most of them, but closing lineup is really hard to get a grasp of who it could be because it's probably just whoever's playing best at that point. Like, it could be Quickly very easily over DiVincenzo or Hart. Like, nothing would really surprise me there. I guess it was just trying to find out who might else join the rotation because otherwise that's like an 8-person rotation against Washington. And I think it's confirmed that Washington sucks balls.
Yeah, so if I actually go through my player exposures now, because I just did what I assume is going to be my final update before lock, unless something, like really drastic changes here. But my most rostered point guard is Darius Garland. My most rostered shooting guard is Dante DiVincenzo. Second most, though, is Quickly. Small forward. Well, I have DiVincenzo there, so I'll go Garland, my most rostered point guard. Quickly, my most rostered shooting guard. DiVincenzo, my most rostered small forward. I did get to Evan Mobley as my most rostered power forward, and then Jared Allen at center. So pretty clear what ended up happening once I ran everything. Lots of Cavs, lots of Knicks as well.
Lots of Cavs, lots of Knicks. Yeah. It's
and
Jalen Suggs ruled out.
All
Jam
right.
Cole Anthony.
So there we go. Cole Anthony as well. Somebody who we're going to want to be getting to here. And
Gary Harris starting. Don't let that sway you, friends. Don't let that sway you. You still want Cole Anthony.
All right. So I didn't think anything was going to change. I said that 30 seconds ago, and now it's going to change. We have to update for the match.
Yep.
But get these lineups uploaded right now so that if I don't get everything finished, at least I have these lineups in that has all the Knicks stuff covered. And it's not like I want to get off the Knicks for Cole Anthony anyway. Like, I could still play the Knicks and get myself exposure to Cole Anthony. So
right.
Save these lineups.
I'm way too calm for this show today. Why am I so calm?
And it's because you experienced the great state of New Jersey.
That's exactly what it was.
We've got some questions that are here for us to answer. Super chat from Jeremy Doyle. How many 4,500 guys would you usually play in a large field tournament on FanDuel? It's slate to slate. There are some days it's none. There's some days it's 3. Because if you we see this happen sometimes where, I remember there was a slate 2 years ago, Gordon Hayward came back from injury and he was min price on FanDuel. Like, that's somebody who it's like, well, that's like a close to all in type play. So it's going to be different slate to slate depending on the pricing. There's not like a one size fits all answer, Jeremy. And I think it's a mistake you're making if you think every slate should be played with the exact same lineup construction. Players, like, if you go into like, I have to spend up at power forward, I have to save money at shooting guard, you're just going to get yourself into some bad lineups. You have to be flexible and treat each lineup as its own, each slate as its own thing.
That is my opinion as well.
Yeah, so that Magic starting lineup, by the way, with Gary Harris starting and Jalen Suggs out, it is Black, Harris, Wagner, that's Franz Wagner, Banchero, and Bitadze in the starting unit for the Magic. Let's see how many of these questions in Discord we could bang out right before we head into lock.
Love banging.
in this one. Absolutely. Jets world with Barrett and Grimes out, is DiVincenzo a good value play? No, he's a great value play. Like,
great is the word. Yeah.
Kappa, is it worth playing DiVincenzo in a single entry? Yes, it is.
Sure is.
Single entry. Jay wants to know what we're liking for the Clippers Rockets showdown. We'll build lineups for that in like 10 minutes after lock here. And then Madub T, I'm getting too much Abaji on DK.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
I don't think.
Stop hitting yourself. I have 2%, but I'm probably going to have 0 when it's all said and done, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't have any lineups with him right now.
Yeah, I will. I would rather, again, I've said eat paint before. I'd rather like try out Glow for the first time.
If you had like a lineup with him where it was the last man in, like, okay, whatever. But if you're prioritizing him, I think that's it. I think that's an issue.
we want to reassess.
We've got a Stewie Griffin saying, how are we changing Poole's metrics in our models for Ruby Rose being at the game?
Yeah. Oh, shit. Didn't know.
So I think that we could project him for a 70% usage rate and a 6% true shooting percentage. He's going to shoot. They're going to be inefficient shots.
Yeah. I was going to say, you got to respect the guy for chucking. You just got to respect him for chucking.
Super chat from Mikey B. Eric, you're clearly calm because PG goes off at 10:30 tonight.
Shut the fuck up. Okay.
Right, well, that got a rise out of him. 3.5 hours until Paul George plays. That's why Eric's a little relaxed right now. But you see, as soon as he hears Paul George's name,
say that.
Yeah, gets his voice raises an octave, so stuff gets all kind of messed up there for him. What kind of exposure did you get to Cole Anthony?
I'll tell you in 2 seconds as I finish up and I upload. All right. So 50 lineups here again, the typical 50. I have, when it is all said and done, survey says 76%.
Oh my. All right. So let's see. What do we have? Our projection on Cole Anthony is for 31.07 DK fantasy points at 5,400.
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Dante DiVincenzo ended up in way too many lineups of mine. I'm going to regret this. 58%. Darius Garland, 58%, like identical number. 44% Jokic, 40% Randall, 36% Hart, 20% Quickly. There you go. Those are like the main ones that we were talking about before.
Yeah. I mean, I've DiVincenzo in like half my lineups. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, it's just so sad. I had like 40% Mobley. He's trimmed down to 20 now. I want the Mobley. I just know Mobley's going to be underowned, and it just makes me so mad. Yeah. I currently have 6% Terance Mann, so that came up a tiny bit, but like he's like a 26% piece that I think is trash. So there's that. Mitchell Robinson was somebody that I had more of before now. Again, I don't know what to make of this Danilo Gallinari crap, but I don't like it.
What do you mean by this Danilo Gallinari crap?
Just, I mean, he was somebody that was showing up in lineups, and now like I have to question the nature of my reality, like Dolores.
I have a couple lineups with him. I don't. He's $3,700 projected for just under 20 fantasy points. Whatever. I've got a few lineups with him. It's not a significant amount. It's a single digit amount. So I'm cool with it.
Okay.
Let's see what else we are getting to as far as questions, and no other super chats before lock. We'll make sure there's nothing in Discord that we didn't miss, that we missed. Yeah, we're good. So we're all caught up on all the questions. We are at lock now, guys. So if you're going to leave, you shouldn't, because we're going to be covering everything that happens in the next 30 minutes, and shit is going to go down in all likelihood, because still existing on the injury report, Eric, Joel Embiid is questionable. LeBron James is questionable. And, you know, those are guys that are pretty important to the overall slate. And Joel Embiid is going to be locking 30 minutes from now. Now, he's been questionable in a handful of games in a row. My best guess is that Joel Embiid plays, but I would not be like totally shocked if he sits. Do you have a lean on what ends up happening with Joel Embiid in the next 30 minutes?
I think he plays, and he's going to be really low owned, and I'm going to have like 12% of him, and I'm going to be just fine with it.
I loaded up on Joel Embiid the other night when he was questionable, and the slate was like 15 minutes from starting until we got the Joel Embiid news. And I loaded up on him. Number one, I thought he projected really well. He did. Yeah. But then also I thought his ownership was going to be reduced because of that. He still ended up being 20% owned in the $15. Yeah, still like 70 fantasy points, so I didn't hate it. But the point being here is I think people might start to look at some of these Joel Embiid questionable reports and just go, that's Fugazi. That is 76ers bullshit. He's playing.
Okay, well, if they do, sweet. He's the second highest projected player in our projections and everybody's projections today. I think you probably want to get to a little bit, especially if you are looking for any. I mean, it's not like some drastic savings off of Joel Embiid, but like it's still $1,100. That's kind of drastic. He's the only guy who's remotely close to Jokic for me today. You would have a guy like Anthony Davis if it's independent of LeBron, who would have north of 56, 57 pretty quickly. But again, 62 is how many I have Joel Embiid for. I have 68 or 69, depending on, because I put it combined with our stuff here. 70 is what we have him at. And Jokic is just a phenomenal play. But like Joel Embiid, he's going to be half the ownership, I would think, at least.
How similar is your exposure to Joel Embiid to Nikola Jokic?
Not close. 12% to, and Joel Embiid will start. There you go. 12% Joel Embiid. Just talked about that a second ago. And then 44% is the final number it ended up being on Jokic.
All right. I'm about to do a late swap.
Normal lineup here. Maxey, Melton, Harris, Covington, Embiid. I'm so happy that I missed Covington Day. I'm very, very happy that I just happened to be gone for that. That could have been really bad.
Whoa. And then did you see his big...
I just said that, Mike.
He absolutely crushed the slate. The, what was it? Was it last night or 2 nights ago when the 76ers played? Covington was like the best value play on the night, which was one of the funniest shows ever because he was 40% owned, puts up a dud. Nobody plays him the next day, and he just immediately smashes. It was like he had like 20 fantasy points in the first quarter.
Welcome to this thing we call life, brother.
It was an all-time. I mean, I came out on the wrong end of it, but I respect a good DFS troll, Eric.
It's true. It's why you do shows with me.
All right. Let's see what we have coming into the Discord channel then. Mike, if you wouldn't mind, start getting ready. We're going to run some sims for the showdown contest for the late one between the Rockets and the Clippers. So we'll throw that up on screen. We'll look at that after we answer these few questions that are in the Discord channel. So just prep that, and then we can pull it up right after we get to these. But Hef Love has a 3v3 question for us, Eric.
Okay.
Aaron Gordon, Keldon Johnson, and Domantas Sabonis on one side. Sadiq Bey, Tobias Harris, and Jokic on the other side.
Second one,
like, I mean, Sadiq Bey is not somebody I'm trying to get to today.
Yeah.
But I do like Tobias Harris and Nikola Jokic, obviously.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. I think it's the second one by default on that because of the other two within that grouping.
Einstein wants to know if I got any exposure to Miles Bridges. I don't know. I'll have to check right now.
I had 2%. If that lineup wins, I think I have to give the money back.
I did get a couple of lineups with Miles Bridges, but like nothing significant, just a couple of spots where he was the last man in. So
would you say that those lineups, we might be burning bridges?
No, because I don't think there's any bridges being burned here. Maybe we feel bad about ourselves if he ends up winning or something like that. But
Kevin Knox starting. Hi.
We've got, the starting lineup, which was expected throughout the day. Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Azur Thompson, Kevin Knox, and Isaiah Stewart. What are the Pistons doing here, first off? And then second, are you going to play Kevin Knox at all?
Yeah. I mean, Marvin Bagley was who we had projected as the starter. We had him 24 and a half minutes. Those are going to come down. It was very, like, I had the feeling that this was more than likely going to be Isaiah Stewart at the 5, just because they just, Azur Thompson can board and do some things. It's pretty wild to watch, but I am going to get to a little bit of Kevin Knox at a flat 4K. I had pre-built a little bit in the event the news had gone that direction, but like, there's really no point. I mean, everything kind of became Knicks and became Orlando, specifically Cole Anthony, but I don't completely hate the idea of getting to a 4K Kevin Knox. Oh, actually, I do completely hate the idea of it because he sucks, but he's a 0.86 fantasy point per minute guy so far this season. It's more to do with the price 4K. I do prefer him and his potential for minutes and potential for opportunity over that of Terance Mann. if it's a blowout, I bet they don't care about Kevin Knox just staying out on the floor, which I think is definitely a positive. I think there's more going for Kevin Knox than what might meet the eye.
Seen so much of Kevin Knox. He's terrible, but he has to be min price, right?
He is 4K.
Oh, he's 4K. I don't know that I'm really going to be getting to Kevin Knox.
I don't know. You say that now.
I haven't updated shit yet.
Wait until you put a 4K Knox into your schnauzer and you just snort it. It's gonna hit you hard.
My favorite Kevin Knox thing is when there used to be 538 when they still had projections on the site. Is they used to do these salary projections where it was like based on this guy's previous performance, his career arc. This is what we expect the next 5 years of their career to be worth. What?
Just where you're going with this, the setup, the anticipation, it's palpable.
So Kevin Knox was so bad. He was rated as the worst player in the NBA, but he was also projected to be like a usage guy that was going to get minutes for the Knicks. He totally broke the algorithm. So they had his fair 5-year value. I still have it saved in my phone, so I have to dig it up. If I remember correctly, the number was, they said his fair market value was negative $96 million. He was so bad that it was like, hey, if you want to keep playing in the NBA, this is the cost that you're going to have to pay teams.
That's not good.
Yeah, and like the next worst player, it was like somebody who was projected to be worth like, I don't know, like a couple $100,000 over the course of the last few years. Like he was so bad, he broke all projection models.
It's not ideal.
Got a couple of super chats that just came in. One is from the Losers Win Again. Sports Talk is asking, is Sexton still a decent 4K play on DK? I didn't like Sexton before very much, and now other players have opened up. I had like 5% of Cole Anthony who I uploaded lineups at lock, and that's about to go down as more players have opened up. So relative to ownership,
all right, this guy. All right, this is the first time I've had to do this. You are an absolute twat, Greg G. Not
what?
You, Greg, other Greg G. This guy must be removed from the channel forever. When you put lies into the chat, you know what happens? You disappear. You gone. Saying Embiid ruled out, I swear to God, don't do that shit. You will never come back. You can't come back from that.
Into the abyss he goes. Yeah, that's the one thing. So I don't like people say, I don't really give a shit. It doesn't make a difference to me in terms of like, if you attack me or if you attack Eric, I don't care. But we are trying to do a show. We're just delivering you guys news. So don't like throw phony shit into the chat, because here's what's going to happen. People think that it's gaining some sort of competitive advantage by like, hey, I've led some people astray. Here's the reality. You don't have that much influence. Eric and I don't even have that much influence on the field. A couple people take our advice. A lot of people don't. But what you're going to do in the chat is maybe one or two people read and go like, oh no, he's out. They swap their lineups and they do something they didn't want to do. And that's the only impact you have. You're just kind of being a dick and it's not really doing anything for you. So don't go into the chat and just say bullshit. I agree with Eric on this one.
Thank you.
Eric's back.
Appreciate you.
You make shit up. You out of here. You're gone. Strike one.
No, Wave. Somebody called me a douche just now. See, I don't have a problem with that. I will show it to the world. I don't care. But you put a false piece of news in, fuck yourself. How about that?
Yeah, what is the Steve Carell quote from Office? Fool me once, strike one. Fool me twice, strike three. That's where
strike
we're at.
Three.
But it's only a one strike policy around here. Strike one, strike three, and you're out of here.
It's like my Twins facing Houston.
Let's see what we've got as
a sad joke
as questions go, because I think there was one more super chat. Yes, Riley Cooper 14, Wade or Knox. Boy, this is the Spider-Man meme. I'll go with Kevin Knox over Wade. Because at least Wade is better teammates. They're going to take usage from him. Knox is probably worse than Dean Wade, but the Pistons are also so dog shit that he could just walk into usage.
Yeah. It's so sad that that's like an actual question today, but it's actually viable and actually something to talk about. Like, where have we gone wrong? Where have we gone wrong? So many places.
What's your answer?
I mean, I like Knox more.
All right.
Talked about him earlier. My question, do you have you didn't talk about any of these Sacramento guys. They're going to be really, really popular against San Antonio. Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk. Where did you end up landing on those guys in the aftermath of Cole Anthony and Darius Garland showing up? Because something tells me that it's going to trim away some of the ownership, but some part of me wants to like rip all of my ownership off of those guys and just save it up for later, and also just put more towards Cole Anthony, more towards Darius Garland in the event that it's like somewhat similar ownership.
I'll let you know in a couple minutes. I'm updating for the Pistons right now to see if I get to Knox at all. I assume I probably will a little bit. I don't think he's going to be an important part of my lineups or anything like that. But I do think some of my stuff is going to be shuffled around a little bit because of some of the news here.
Fair.
So I'll know after that. We do have some other questions that are coming in. First from Garrett Skiba, who said, "Thanks for booting that guy." Yeah, of course, no problem. Thank Eric, though. Eric's the one who pulled the trigger right there. He's gone. And then Jake Lindland says, 7,100 for the last 2 DK spots. Forward and utility, he has Branham. So who do we want to tell him to play? $7,100 total combined salary for a forward and a utility.
For a forward and utility, 7,100 total salary?
Yeah, so he's 2 spots to fill and $7,100 left.
Ugh. I mean, this is going to be really, really thin. It's probably your guy, Devontae Graham at 3,400, and then pick $4,100 guy like Kevin. So, I mean, that's too much. I need 3,700. God, the answer for me is legitimately Jabari Walker, which makes me just want to like tell you to redo stuff.
Who is the other? So it was who? Graham and Walker?
Graham and Walker. I mean, Jeff Green just played 26 minutes too. You could go to Jeff Green if you really wanted to, but there's just so many guys in that in that Houston rotation here. When you look at, Jalen Green back, Jabari Smith here, Dylan Brooks, you have all the starters there, just Şengün and Van Vliet, and then Tara Eason's back, Jayshawn Tate's back, Jeff Green's back, Aaron Holiday's going to play minutes. It's like, it's so hard for me to want to do like anything with Houston outside of Şengün.
I'm scrolling to try to figure out like what I could figure out as the players that make the most sense. So, all right, let me sort by projection and then just go cheap here. All right, so what if we give him, if Gary Harris is at the utility spot for 3,200?
I mean, Gary Harris needs to knock down 5 threes. That's your path for Gary Harris. Maybe a couple stocks. Like he's fine. Again, not going to be somebody in my lineups, but I understand that shout out.
But I mean, he's only given us so much salary here, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're
averaging 35.5 per player. So if I go to a $3,200 Gary Harris, that is going to allow us for $3,900 in the other spot. And at $3,900, we could get to Jayshawn Tate. So I'll say Tate and Gary Harris.
Okay. That's fine.
These are thin. There aren't any like flat min guys that I really like tonight.
No, there are not.
So kind of is what it is. Those are the options that we have to deal with. All right, that's all we had for super chats. We got some other questions.
We never did the nuke of the night either, by the way.
It's hey, listen, it was ever changing. There was nothing we could really do. Sometimes
it's Austin Reeves, if anybody cared.
We've got a couple other questions to answer in Discord, and then we'll pull up the showdown contest for tonight. We'll look at that in the Sims. But Bad Hombre says, do I leave $300 on the table on a small field single entry, or do I play Cole Anthony over Melton? Anthony or Melton? Which way are you going, Eric?
Melton is going to be. Where did I end up on Melton? Because I think I'm lower on DK than it looks like the field is. I like getting to. Who was the other guy?
It was Melton or Cole Anthony.
Yeah, it's definitely Cole Anthony by a lot. By a lot for me.
Cole Anthony for me as well. Cole Anthony is my answer to that question. And if you're really asking like Cole Anthony versus anybody who's comparably priced, I think the answer is Cole Anthony. Is there anybody priced around him that you would prefer?
No.
All right, we are on the same page there.
How much Kevin Knox did you get?
I haven't finished updating yet, so
Okay.
I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
But we do have Jets World asking Knox or Sexton on DK. I'm going to go Sexton. It's just a 1v1.
Love Sexton.
Oh, so you still got to a lot of Sexton then.
No, I didn't get to a lot. I got to a little. Nothing crazy. Oh, gosh. This is just so much to get fixed.
Why? What do you have going wrong for you?
So I don't know what it was that necessarily shot up my ownership on Paolo Banchero, but like I am really getting to Paolo Banchero right now, and I'm just trying to figure out why, because I didn't think there was like that pronounced of a bump. Let me pull this up again here, because I mean Jalen Suggs does chuck. I mean, this is definitely going to be an improved situation. It's just like that news came out so early. It's disappointing because, you know, it's 44 minutes till that game locks. It came out before lock, or like right after lock. Sorry. Paolo Banchero, though, 23.6% assist rate. That leads this team. And now you're losing Cole Anthony, or not Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, 21.1% assist rate. And Jalen Suggs, 15.5% assist rate. I mean, Paolo Banchero and Cole Anthony are going to be out there creating. The other guy that I got to a little bit of, and I'm just going to say it because it's disgusting, but jingle all the way, Joe Ingles, he's 3,400. As I updated everything, I have him for 18 fantasy points. That's nothing crazy good, but like this rotation, you could just see guys that you don't expect closing. Like there's some volatility here. Like Anthony Black does not have to close. And if Jingles is playing well enough, if it's him or Cole Anthony, like there's an opportunity, I think, for both of them to do enough there. He's been a 0.67 fantasy point per minute producer. That's got room to grow. That's a little bit low for Jingles.
And I should know very, very shortly who it is that I am going to be getting to, because I just did one final update and running it through the late swap tool now. All right. Some other questions that we have coming in. This one, Malcolm Revamp. Question for you, Eric. He wants to know what prop bets you like.
Oh, I've got some cards going. I like the under on Ivica Zubac. I talked about that last night pretty much ad nauseum. I am a noted Ivica Zubac guy. My 100K win is 100% because Ivica Zubac on the Lakers went for 56 when I late swapped into him just to like have some exposure to him before I even knew who Ivica Zubac was. It's like January 2019. But like, I definitely think that those minutes, these Clippers minutes could be all over the place. And I think Zubac is one guy with PJ Tucker and now Daniel Tice getting picked up and obviously wanting to go there. And that was being his target, like getting his buyout from Indy and actually being utilized there. They need a big and they need better big play. And they need some guys who can knock down some shots. Zubac is never going to be that guy. Daniel Tice can knock down a shot or two. And so his skill set works a little bit better with some of these Clippers. And you got 20.5 for his PRA around the industry. I think that's a little bit too high considering there's a number of things that can go against him here.
So for myself, I don't know if it's still up there. And I know he was only asking you, but I want to be included too. I posted some bets on Twitter. One that I liked is a longer odds bet. Nurk plus 200 to have a double-double today. I think that that's something that's like fairly close to a 50-50 bet that you are getting for pretty significant plus money odds. So like Nurk to double-double, and that is what I'm going to be going with as a prop bet that I like.
Fuck.
What now?
Malachi Branham not starting.
All right, so we're going to have to update stuff again.
11 minutes. Champagne is back on the menu.
I got to say, though, Champagne sucks. So
he sucks. He had 7 steals the other day.
Yeah, but like I'm not going to expect that to happen again. So when he was on the court and the game was competitive, he sucked last game. He just had a bunch of defensive stats. He had no usage. He had like limited rebounds, limited assists. He just had a ton of defensive stats. And then he got garbage time as well. I know it's the Spurs. Like garbage time is always on the table, but Champagne is not somebody who I'm going out of my way to load up on. Like I didn't look at anything he did last game as being sustainable.
You say that now, Greg. You say that now. He had a 21.6% usage rate. He does like to chuck a basketball.
Yeah, but a lot
24.3% usage total, though. 24.3% usage on the season.
Yeah. But once again, a lot of that was due to the garbage time.
I know, but it's still, I mean, he's had stints and yeah, he's played some garbage time here and there, but like you look at the baseline for it and 16 minutes against Indy, 22.8% usage. That wasn't all, well, most of it was blowout. It was an entire fourth quarter. So there's that. I'm going through this box score. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell to do with him. I did not expect him to be starting. That is for sure. He is second on the team in usage behind Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes out last game and he has like one steal, he finishes with 21 fantasy points. That's just
all right. So, do we have any Malachi Branham interest whatsoever right now?
Let's see what our updated projection is on him. Sorry, Mike.
I think I'm going to global swap him. You're fine. You're fine.
We asked Mike to build lineups in for Showdown like 30 minutes ago, and then we just said other things that have. But here's the reality.
Hey, Mike.
I just want to make sure Mike is busy and that we're giving him shit to do. Right? That's really what it comes down to.
What it all comes down to.
By the way, some updates here. We currently have Champagny projected for 22.59 fantasy points.
22, you said?
Yes. And
yeah, I have to play a little bit of him. This sucks. This is so dumb.
I'll rerun the late swap tool. I'll say this. I'd rather play Champagny than Kevin Knox.
I would too. See, this is the like whatever the meme is where, you know, we can actually shake hands on this one.
Like I'm sure I'll get to some of Champagny, but I don't think he's going to be like a crazy high priority for me. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll see what happens when I rerun lineups here using our projections. Next question that we have in the Discord channel. This one is from, where is it? Oh, Heflev. Harris and Covington or Knox and MPJ? Harris and Covington.
Harrison Covington for sure, but like I don't like Covington whatsoever today.
JEW, any love for Isaiah Stewart with Knox starting? Not really.
Stewart.
Not really.
Club went further than the ball. Good old Family Guy.
Okay, here's something else to consider. Are people not going to play Champagny? I'm starting to talk myself into them. Are people just?
I'm playing more than you are, is what I'm hearing, because I have him for 30 minutes. I have him for 25 fantasy points. So I'm probably going to have like almost all of it. So here we go. That game locks in 7 minutes, Greg. This is the opposite of last time where, you know, he was mega chalk. Maybe people see his name and now have good, warm, fuzzy feelings, but like there aren't enough people paying attention to this shit to not have it be somewhat positive for us just doing this every single day and like paying attention, because there's enough people not paying attention that are in weekend mode. We should be playing more of him than the field.
Right. I'll up him a little bit in here and see.
And I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to change it from the balanced. I'm going to go a little bit more contrarian on this one, because normally I like going the balanced route just because it's more projection based. I'm going to ramp it up a little bit and see what happens.
We haven't projected very well.
Yeah, that's why I've been for better than we do. 25. So 24.8 if anybody actually cares, but I don't think they do.
All right, here we go. Simulating the slate in the NBA late swap tool. Really big part of my process. Helped me out a whole bunch. If you guys sign up for our Sims package, one of the most valuable tools in here is definitely the NBA late swap tool, because when stuff like this happens post lock and all of a sudden you got Cole Anthony becomes a guy, all of a sudden you got stuff like the Spurs have an unexpected starting lineup 8 minutes before the slate starts. You know, Eric and I could sit here and we could speculate on what it is that we like, but we're not as good as the data, and the data will simulate out the slate for us and tell us who the priorities are to get to. Let's see.
Anthony Black is showing up so much. Why is this happening? No, make it stop. Turn it off.
Too bright.
Too bright. Right. Turn it off.
IC50 is asking us Allen or Anthony. That is Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony. I have so much Paulo Banchero. I'm going to be in so much pain later. Oh,
All right. What did I get to here?
I have no Malachi Branham. That seems wrong. I should have maybe a little bit still, but I guess not. No. Champagne, where are you? Where did you go?
I have 18% Champagne.
I don't know where he went though. He should be somewhere here. What was he projected for ownership here? I'm just searching for him.
I think 25%.
25%. Okay. So I passed him somewhere along the way.
But I don't think he's actually going to be that number.
I don't think he is either.
And
I bet Champagne, I bet Branham still pulls ownership, and I bet Champagne doesn't really get a lot of a bump here.
I assume the 17% I have is more than the field has. I assume.
Oh my God.
You doing okay there, Eric?
Yeah, see, I was so calm before. I was feeling very zen, and then we have people spewing fake news, and now I'm playing Julian Champagne. And I just don't like it, Greg. I don't like it.
One more question from Iron Maiden 2. He wants to know thoughts on Isaiah Stewart playing center. I did not get to Isaiah Stewart.
I didn't get to a lot of him. Again, I got to a little bit of Kevin Knox still. And then the Champagne fellow is just, make it rain, please. Run contest sim. All right. We are going with whatever this says. This is just the end of the road. If I win, it was not me because I can't do anything else. I just am clicking the button.
We've got some questions here from let's see.
Ryan Houston, I am not Thickums. Stop it.
We've got Kenny Wayne asking Champagne or Knox. Champagne.
Yeah, Champagne. I like him more than Knox. I have we'll tell you. I'm not gonna lie right now. I gotta wait for it. Simulating slate. Got to figure out when I put in the $88 too, because I have some of those that I just got to fix before. Because I don't want to have too many double of both of those idiots just to get to Jokic, but I'm sure I have a lot of that now.
We've only got 2 minutes left to go here.
Favorite top swap, export, move on with my life, upload. That was actually much quicker there than I was expecting. All right.
So what
Perfect.
Is your, because I have everything here
exposures
sorted out
Yep,
now.
I got it.
So as far as your final exposures to some of these different Orlando Magic and then also the San Antonio Spurs players, what ended up changing for you?
I ended up getting Gary Harris. He's 3,200. I think that, I think that in the end that kind of wore that won out for me. So I got to a little bit of Gary Harris at 14% that I had zero of before. I ended up playing Champagne in 42% of lineups. So that's different. I have 0% Malachi Branham, which seems like a mistake, but again, I'm just rolling with it at this point. I need to fix this too. How much time do I got? Cole Anthony, Garland. All right. And then I'm going to put Mann because I know I can swap out of him later. And I'm going to just have a placeholder on these guys because I need to fix my life after this. There we go. Bones Island not in the rotation, so that'll be a great placeholder for me. Good job, Eric. Way to go.
I think you could have used to fix your life a little bit before this, but what specifically is it that you need to fix? Is it just the amount of time you're devoting to teams like the Orlando Magic and the San Antonio Spurs a minute before their game starts?
Greg, a majority of my day is staying up till 8 p.m. breaking down bets that have just dropped before anybody has any information. And I've had to learn to build it out all myself in MLB, in NFL, in NBA, in every damn sport, not to mention golf. Right now, we don't have golf. Thank God. I played the RSM. Just saying, it's just really hard sometimes to be me, and nobody gives me any love or appreciation. They don't even say I'm cute anymore because I'm not. I don't get to work out nearly as much, and it's fine. Fix your life in 4K. I can't because my camera won't turn on. So we are now back to basics here on the old Apple cam, and my light settings are a little bit too bright for this setup. It's a different camera.
Too bright. What is it that was going wrong with your camera, by the way?
I don't know. Every time I run the Sims tool, it turns off.
Oh,
that happened yesterday too.
Your computer just overloads?
Yeah, it doesn't enjoy when I go in and I go click those buttons and try to late swap. But here's the thing. I do it anyway. If I have to remove my beautiful face from the screen for just a second so that I can get my money right, I will do it, because wait till I get my money right. Knox, Sexton, Champagne. Yeah, we're all screwed tonight, guys.
My final lineups.
Evan Fournier just checked in. Oh, God. If Evan Fournier goes off, I'm never going to be okay again.
Let's see. So what happened? What happened so far in the game? And then I have no clue what's happening.
Randall is smashing 5, 4, and 3. I played him in the big tournament today.
Oh, this is good.
So that's a really good start for us. Miles McBride and Evan Fournier are both on the floor together right now. Again, just working through that rotation. You weren't going to have Archie Diacono play. You weren't going to have Jeffries play. And Sims, you're going to still keep the same center rotation. So, I assumed you had to have Fournier and McBride play. If either of them go nuts, there's no reason that they couldn't close over DiVincenzo. But DiVincenzo, 3, 3, and 1 in 9 minutes, only 1 foul. Great start by him, too.
Yeah, I mean, all of the Randall smashing so far. DiVincenzo relative to his price. Smashing so far. Great start for Brunson. Quickly comes in and knocks down a 3 right away.
Hart sucks, but that's it. He's only played 6 minutes.
I didn't have Hart as much relative to the other guys.
Me either.
Don't give a shit. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. If you have not done it yet, do Eric and I a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hope you guys really, really do have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday. Peace out.
Bye, friends. Champagne.